Bow down, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. Welcome, everybody. Station, pop, pop, boom, to PCP Movie Night. I'm so freaking excited about tonight because tonight you will believe that a PCP Movie Night can fly. We're going to be talking about all 4 Christopher Reeve Superman films. Superman the movie, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I am super excited. Of course, you know, I got my compatriot. It's Jelani. What's up, my man?
I don't know, man, but you know, you should be kneeling. I don't know why you're not kneeling now.
Yeah, well, we're both doing the Zod bit.
Yeah, so I guess it's gonna be a rough time for both of us.
It's a rough time.
We'll be asking, but yeah, man, it's great to be here. Yeah. I am very excited. I'm a Superman mark. These are great movies, you know, all in all. Sometimes they've got their moments, but man, I love me some Christopher Reeve Superman. I mean, I love Christopher Reeve so much. I'm wearing his shirt, and I got like my Superman NECA figure. Nice. That I can't, since we don't have such show and tell, I'm going to show off this. But I love this figure. This is my favorite Superman's figure. This is my favorite Superman. He's so baller. And I love his character. Like, the character of Superman is so powerful in all 4 of these films. Yeah. And I can't wait to talk about this, you know, with you guys.
I can't wait to talk about this movie because we got a great panel. You know, in fact, I was thinking the other day, I was like, you know, there's a comic book creator, writer, illustrator who is a big Superman fan. I was thinking of him. He's done work like Count, which is like a sci-fi reimagining of Count of Monte Cristo. He's done James Bond work, really great stuff, and such a fan of Superman. And he's done some Superman work. And his name is Ibrahim Mustafa. And guess what, Jelani?
What?
He's here. Ibrahim.
Station. What's going down?
Dude, thank you for being here tonight to talk about these Superman movies.
Thank you for having me. You know, I'm a Superman 4 apologist. I'm gonna spread the gospel on this episode.
That's the main reason why you're here. Because I was like, you know, we got to because last time you were on the show, you mentioned that, like, that you're an apologist for Superman Quest of Peace. And I was like, well, if we ever do that show, you got to be here. you got some exciting books to come up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's coming up?
Yes. So in April 22nd, I believe, my new book, Retroactive, comes out through Humanoids. It is a time travel espionage book. I would best described as James Bond meets Groundhog Day. So it's about a time travel agency. A spy gets stuck in a time loop, has to make his way out. There's a trailer for it at retroactivecomic.com. You can check it out and pre-order it there. And I'm doing a pre-order giveaway. So if you pre-order the book and you email retroactivecomic@gmail.com with like a proof of purchase, you get entered to win original art, comics, signed books, t-shirts, book plates. So do that.
Dude, that's awesome. You completely sold me on that pitch, by the way. So,
thank you, man.
Count was fantastic. Big fan of your work. Isn't there a hardcover edition of Jaeger or something coming out?
Oh yeah, so Jaeger, which was a digital first thing I did that I've self-published and sold at conventions in small runs, but has never been out through previews in the direct market, is being collected and put out by a new publisher called Fair Square Comics. Run by Fabrice Sapolsky, who brought me into Humanoids in the first place. So nice. Great guy. He's doing he's had some successful stuff happen on Kickstarter recently. He did like a thing called like Noir is the New Black, I believe it was called. It was like an anthology of like Black creators doing noir. Okay. So that's coming out in May. And then also in April, Doctor Strange Nexus of Nightmares, a one shot that I drew with Ralph Macchio, not the Karate Kid, but the Marvel writer editor, and Niraj Menon colored it. So it's coming out just in time for the movie, as far as I know. And then sorry, one more. Black Panther number 4, Legacy number 201. I'm glad that you know that. Out.
Well, glad you know the Legacy number.
That's very specific. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about legacy, right? You gotta. I drew half of issue 3, and then the scene that I drew, like there's a scene that took place on Arrakis. Araco? I don't remember. It's Mars.
Araco, something like that. Whatever that is. X-Mars.
Yes. And so there's a few more pages from that scene in issue 4. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a heavy month of releases, and then I'll go quiet for another like 6 months, and
then working on more goodness though. I always, by the way, there's so many people in our age range that always thought that, is this the same Ralph Macchio that was in the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
So I'm glad to get the definitive answer tonight from someone who's worked with him. Also, we got Brian here. What's up, Brian? Station.
Thank you for having me. And I'm glad you brought up the Jaeger thing, because I did see it in previews. It's actually got some variant covers.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Phil man. I forgot to mention, Phil Hester and Dennis Calero.
Yeah.
Nice. And Phil actually sent me the original art for that, so I've got that.
Oh,
really. I was flipping through the previews and I saw that, and I got so freaking excited because the last time I read it, I borrowed his copy, and Brian was like, "Did you thumb this up?" I'm glad I can have
wear nitrile gloves, and a face mask and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think you did it. I think you ate Taco Bell over it.
I think I ate some Cheetos and then manhandled the book. Speaking of eating Cheetos and reading comics, it's Joe Corella. What's up, my man?
Hey, not much. Just excited to talk about the old Superman and all that. And since there is no little show and tell, I do have my little Sarah Douglas picture signed. I don't really do celebrity autographs. I just happened to be like volunteering at this con, and she was there, and I was just like, I gotta get on top of this. Like, come on.
I gotta give you some Ursa. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I have a Margot Kidder one that I should have pulled out. I got from her at an early Emerald City Comic Con when there was like before cons blew up, and I just walked right up to her table and chatted with her. She was lovely. Rest in peace.
And
rest in peace.
Something, and something that I have somehow never brought up ever to you or anyone on YouTube or in any interview I've ever done.
This is a Joe Corella exclusive, everybody.
Joe Corella exclusive. My cousin Michael did a full length Superman fan film where he played Superman that was based on those the Superman Batman Public Enemies story. And
the Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness stuff, right?
McGuinness,
yeah, it's like loosely based on it, but yeah, feature length. And he's Superman. And he's such a big fan of the Christopher Reeve stuff that they cast someone to play Otis in that movie to give Luthor as president like a lackey.
I like that.
Chief of staff.
I wish I would have known about that. I would have auditioned for the role of Otis from Otisburg. Anyway, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to have a great show. Brooks is supposed to be joining us. I think he's in the midst of a horse catastrophe part 2. I don't know what goes on in a dude who lives and works on a horse farm, horse ranch. It's not a
horse
farm
brutality?
because they don't grow horses, right? Or do they? I don't know. How does it work? Anyway, station everybody in the chat. Let's get into it. I want to know right now, first of all, first question, what are your thoughts overall on these 4 films and on Christopher Reeve in particular? Jelani?
For me, it's the law of diminishing returns. They're awesome till they're not. And it's a mixed bag. A lot of it is very good. Like Christopher Reeve at his finest. I think he portrays Superman very well. No one, I believe, no one in my lifetime has like matched what Christopher Reeve has done on film playing Superman. His villains are kooky. They have their own little motivations. I think 3 was they were trying to do Brainiac, kind of messed it up, sort of, but not really, but also yes. So it's a lot in between. Nuclear Man is nuts. But he needed someone to fight, at that time. But the storylines themselves are kind of wonky all the way through. Even the end of Superman, the first Superman, the kiss at the end of Superman 2, the Brainiac thing in 3, and all of 4. But it's like I said, it's a mix. It's a law of diminishing returns. I think they get better. I mean, they get worse over time.
I got you. Kind of like the Batman films, some would
like
say.
The Batman films.
I think the Batman films are kind of
like they're up and down. They're all in between. But
I can see what people are saying. I think this does the same kind of formula, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like 1, 2, 3. I don't know. We'll unpack each and every one of them.
Yeah, not that I hate these movies. Don't get me wrong. I love all of these movies. They all have something for me because Quest for Peace was the first one I saw in the movie theater. So I was like, whoa, yeah, Superman. So I was a mark. I was marked the whole time. So it's all good. And there are parts that even scare me. When I was a child, they freaked me out. We're gonna get to each one of these movies, but I have the DVD set. I love this set. It's just so pretty to look at. It's all 4 films, and it's a great watch for all of these. That's how I watch them in beautiful DVD.
Very nice, very nice.
But super excited, and I liked them. I just think
it's a good revisit, Jelani. It's a good revisit. It's good just to watch them every so often, all in their entirety.
All at once, or I watched them all day. I took a day, watched them each day, and it was worth it. I didn't. Had I binged them all, I should have just taken a day off and just binged them all. But
I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. But Ibrahim, you're a big fan of Superman, the character. What do you think about the franchise overall, these 4 films, and Christopher, of course?
Well, these movies are what got me into Superman and then, thusly into comics, right? And that's what I do for a living. So they're a big part of my life. I feel like Christopher Reeve, obviously fantastic Superman. There's a lot about his portrayal that is very true to the character and very timeless. And I think that one thing that we see a lot of, especially nowadays, is especially in the DC Warner Brothers side of things, is you get a specific director's take on this character, right? And I think that's why the Marvel movies as a whole are more successful and well liked across the board, is because they are essentially giving us the comic book version of that character, you know, and it's less through a specific person's lens, whereas it was Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Justice League and BVS and all that. So, you know, I think that, you know, while this had Richard Donner's stamp on a lot of it, like this was very much the Superman from the comics. And yeah, man, I think they're just great. 4 is my favorite. I'll tell you all why when we get there. So.
I can't wait. It's the grand finale tonight, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this conversation because there are parts of it. We'll get to it. But I don't think it's like people act like it's an impossible movie to watch. Right?
Yeah,
I think there's terrible. A lot of, you know, we got to understand that this is crazy. We live in a world where Canon Films made a Superman movie.
Right.
Like that's so wild.
Footage. Yeah.
So wild. So
I always
Speaking
tell
of
people,
wild, what?
I was saying, I just always tell people Superman 4 is better than you remember it being. I promise you. And they usually find that to be the case. So
very fun, very fun. Speaking of wild and fun, it's Brian. Brian, what do you think about the franchise as a whole? The 4 movies with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. So I love them. On the revisit, I liked them. There was, you know, I was thinking some of it's kind of a product of their time, you know, and we'll get into some of that, I'm sure. But yeah, this was, you know, Christopher Reeve has been Superman for me for, you know, ever, right? I mean, because like his portrayal was, you know, just spot on, and it was just, you know, very consistent, very, you know, I don't know, he really, you know, nailed it every time. You know, they definitely follow a lot of comic book logic in a lot of them, you know. So as an adult, you know, you're kind of like, you know, but you know, as a kid though, I bought all that stuff. You know, I thought you know, if you spun the Earth backwards, it turned back time, right?
That's some Silver Age stuff he was doing. Yeah.
But you know, watching it as an adult, I appreciate it though, because I like comics that have things like that in it, right? You know, I mean, that's you know, it's part of what made a lot of the old comics, you know, so fun to read and everything. And you know, the music, you know, with John Williams and stuff like that, pretty iconic, you know. And I know I think they seem to use different, you know, people for the music through the movies, but they kept some of those themes in there. You know, they even had a theme for Otis. I noticed, by the way. I don't think I ever noticed that before, and that's awesome.
I think it's the precursor. It's the precursor to the Bulk and Skull music from Power Rangers, I think.
Okay, and I know we're going to get into it, but yes, Ibrahim, I did have a different opinion of Superman 4 after I watched it this time than when I did before. So but yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Very nice. And look at that, 62 representing. Thank you, Station.
Oh, nice.
Indeed. Thank you.
You will not be disappointed, my friend, at all. All right, Joe, what do you think about the 4 films as a whole?
The 4 films as a whole really visually capture pre-crisis Superman. And I think the error that a lot of people make sometimes in analyzing these films is they're looking at it from a post-crisis lens that doesn't really fit. It really wasn't till after Crisis that they really focused on building out this like rogues gallery and him constantly fighting big rogues. He would go years just like fighting like, you know, like I'm Johnny Fire Guy or whatever. Like that wasn't like a thing. Like he would just like be constantly fighting someone who's like, I found a magic hat and now I control the weather. Like that was Superman. And, you know, he'd have these like reoccurring villains, but they were very sparsely used, or they'd be used and then you forget about them for like a year or so. Like General Zod, people care about because of the movies. He's like barely in the comics before the movies. Like, and he's a completely different character. It's really interesting, but like I would describe the movies as like the first 2 movies, they're basically one movie for the most part. And it's like that's when you're sitting back and you're enjoying a Len Wein scripted Jose Luis Garcia Lopez penciled, Dick Giorgiano inked Superman comic. Once you get to like Superman 3, it's like, all right, it's like Marty Pasco's writing it, and we got Kurt Swan, but like Murphy Anderson's inking it. So like, how much better can you get than a Swanderson comic, right? Then, by like the fourth one, it's like, all right, yeah, it's still Marty Pasco, and it's like, and Kurt Swan's doing it, but now we're at like Frank Springer's inking it, and like, and here's the thing, all that, like, there's different quality, different things I take from it, but I like all of that. Like, I am more than happy to read any of that. So while there might be stuff where I'm like, oh, this is like, like a masterpiece, or this is something that everyone should read, it's all amazing. So it's kind of how I feel about it.
All right. I like that description. As a franchise as a whole, I like it. I mean, like a lot of y'all touched on, it's really difficult for me to separate my idea of Superman from Christopher Reeve's portrayal, right? Like these movies, all that stuff. I first started reading these Superman comics. He did these ridiculous, stupid things, and then it was the John Byrne stuff. And to me, I like the Byrne stuff because it kind of takes some elements from these movies, but at the same time, it kind of grounds it, I guess. I don't know, like Byrne was a stickler for grounding Superman and limiting his powers, but I would argue, like I always, in my early 20s, when I was snobby Robbie, I would be like, Superman's good, but that ending's stupid. Like, he spins the world back. He just killed the world. Congratulations. Yeah, bro. What a cool hot take, right? But it thematically is saying something about using his power, like what he's allowed to do, what his father kind of warns him about. But overall, I like the franchise. There is something I enjoy in all four of these movies, and I cannot wait to have this conversation. We're going to kick it off right now. Superman, 1978. You'll believe a man can fly. They had no idea how they were going to make this movie. No idea what they were going to do. This was like basically an indie production house picking up the rights to Superman and trying to make this movie and promising something that they didn't have. It reminds me of the story when Noel Gallagher says when Oasis got their record contract, they were like, how many songs you got? He's like, I've written dozens. And he had written like 2. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they overpromised, but I think they delivered on that promise. They figured it out. I love this movie. I mean, I was born in 81, right? So to me, this is Superman. This was probably the first Superman thing I've ever seen. Who knows? But to me, it all jumbled into one film until later on in life. On the rewatch, this movie is epic. This movie is paced. And I watched the special edition with the extra stuff put in there because I think it belongs in there. This is a movie that deserves 2.5 hours. Look how epic in scale and scope this movie is, how much story it tells in that time. And I hope Batman in 3 hours can deliver it as well, right? And I'm pumped for that movie. But this one, to me, like, I love it. Marlon Brando, the way that Christopher Nolan said that when he did Batman Begins, he modeled his movie on Superman. And in particular, what he talked about was, I can cast whoever I want as Batman, but every other role has got to be a big deal. Rutger Hauer, Morgan Freeman. Look at this movie. You got Marlon Brando just as Jor-El, who, famously didn't want to know his lines beforehand and would read them, like paced around the set is what I've heard. And it's kind of fun to think about that. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, who was like, I'll do it, but I won't go bald. Like, weird little things, but they're like, whatever. We got the names. And then they cast Christopher Reeve. I think he nailed the role. I love Margot Kidder. I love this movie. The ending is a little whatever it is, but thematically it's trying to say something. I love Richard Donner, and I love the Donner cut of part 2. And if we would have had those 2 movies, I think it would have been like majestic, overall, absolutely exciting. What do you think about the movie overall, Jelani? And then what do you give it out of 5 you digs? And you out there in the chat, what do you give the first Superman movie out of 5 you digs?
Well, I absolutely adore this film. I watched the DVD version and I watched the special edition. The special edition is fantastic just for that score. That freaking score just takes me to another place. It's transcending. I love the pacing of this movie because it is 2 hours 23 minutes long, but you feel like it's minutes to me because it tells you in a nutshell who Superman is, what he's fighting for, where he came from, what he's facing, and it does it so brilliantly. I mean, Gene Hackman is amazing. Marlon Brando is great, including his misuse of the word Krypton. But
Krypton.
Krypton.
Whose hatred of all men has threatened even the children of Krypton.
Sure, Krypton. And I'm like, dude, that's wrong. I kept just screaming at the screen. It's Krypton. Say Krypton once.
Hey, bro, he literally just saw it on the floor of the set, you know? Like,
and so he's just making it up as he goes along, and it's fantastic because it's still Brando, and he's nailing it. And
he saw it on the floor. He said, "I almost tripped on Krypton."
Krypton. I love it. But yeah, Gene Hackman does it well. Ned Beatty is fantastic. Miss Tessmacher can get it. It's
Tessmacher's Peaks, by the way. Otisburg and Tessmacher's Peaks.
Yes,
like what
Tessmacher's Peaks.
There's so many like really kind of raunchy kind of jokes in this movie that really dated in the 70s.
They
in
do
particular.
it though. They get it done. And I'm like, and it is 70s. You feel it's 1970s New York. And it's supposed to be Metropolis, but it's okay because you can fudge it a little. Well, like you said before, they were faking it till they made it, and they made it in a big way. I remember I was born in 79, so like this is my Superman as well. And the poster that had come out during that time was the "You Will Believe a Man Can Fly" and the big S. You didn't see anything else. And I'm sure at the time, of course, I was non-existent and not realizing this movie until I was probably 4 or 5. But when I finally saw that poster, I was like, "There's no Christopher Reeve on this." They probably made one later, but I'm sure that they were fudging things to be like, "This is the movie with Superman in it. Go watch it."
And the first trailer was just like, flying through the clouds and stuff like that. And they had the big 2 names. Christopher Reeve was an unknown. He was like third build. It was about Marlon Brando. It was about Gene Hackman. And they did it, dude. They did it. And one thing about Christopher Reeve, how great is he as both Superman and Clark Kent? Like,
he is
so
two different people.
Oh, it's amazing.
2 different people, 2 different mannerisms. Even though clearly that guy is Superman. Clearly. Like, I'm mad at Lois Lane the whole time. She's standing right beside Superman. She's standing right beside Clark Kent every day. And she's not like, "Clark?" And he's not changing his voice. He's not doing anything.
He does change his voice, though.
Well,
his voice
it's a little,
like,
gee golly. But it's still his voice. Like, if I talk like this all the time, I mean, you get it with me after a while, even after I've been saved. But it's okay. I get it. The suspension of disbelief in the way that Jor-El taught him, which I love. I didn't notice that part in the special edition where it says like he was in that cave. He was in the Fortress of Solitude for 12 years.
Yeah,
learning like what he needed to do. So he's exceptionally intelligent. And
he should be.
He should be, but he does very dumb things. Don't tell a reporter all your damn business. Really, I know you wanted to date and all, but don't tell her you can't see through lead.
Well, that's a cool bit in the movie too, where it's like,
I never lie.
They're trying to show how smart Lex is, and the way they do that is that he picks up on certain things through the interview. It's literally just
don't tell
5 sentences. 5 sentences from Superman, and Lex figured out exactly how to take him out. Right, yep. That's pretty cool. I like Gene Hackman as Lex in the movie. A lot of people have the problem with him being like this like land mogul or whatever, but like that, like I think a lot of people.
I like crazy Lex.
We remember the post-crisis Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
right.
Billionaire Lex Luthor.
That's not what Lex was before that. Lex was mad scientist, crazy, and he has his roots in the earliest of Superman villains, which were like greedy corporate moguls or landlords or that kind of thing, right? So like Superman is fighting for the for the everyman against the corporate bully in a way. And like, I think that directly led into the reimagining of Superman post-crisis, which I always thought was mostly John Byrne. Found out today through John Byrne's examination on Cartoonist Kayfabe that was a Marv Wolfman idea. So that was pretty dope. Really? That was pretty cool. So lots to unpack about this movie. We'll get to it. But yeah, we're gonna Jelani, out of 5 you digs, what do you give the first Superman movie?
Here we go. Law of Diminishing Returns. I give it a 4.5. I would give it a 5, but yes, the ending with the spinning and all that stuff. I'm not a snob about it. It's just, yeah, you rotate the world off its axis, dude. You're killing everybody. Or you're going, and how did you stop the second missile again? Did you stop the second missile and then you came back and saved Lois? You know, it's kind of wonky. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I get
he's not that fast. But I would have given it a 5 because that score is so freaking baller. It's a damn near perfect film.
Yeah, the music's great.
It's fantastic.
Well, you got the ending, and I get what you're saying. But however, what he's doing is probably causing some kind of gravitational well and like force. Like, you don't know what's going on with space-time. It's one thing, okay, bro? So I'm just going to say, if we believe that the Flash can just run and go back in time and fix shit,
that's the speed force.
Superman can do it too. It's not that he's spinning the world back so much. That's a visual representation of what's happening. The fact is that he's breaking his vow of non-interference for the one that he loves and cares about, but will never be with. Will never be with. But anyway, I get what you're saying. 4.5. All right, 4.5. That's a conservative, but a very safe and good solid rating.
Because I know there's going to be a lot of 5s, man.
I like it. Ibrahim, overall, what do you think about the first film?
I'm gonna rate it real quick, and then I'll tell you why. I'm also gonna give it a 4.5, because there are a few things in it that are just, obviously the ending. Now, I'm not gonna Neil deGrasse Tyson it, right? Like, it is what it is. It's based off of Silver Age stuff. It's a comic book, thing. But there are a few leaps in it that I have trouble with. Like, he was in the fortress for 12 years. Like, if you gave me 12 minutes with Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz, I could have told him why that was a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that shouldn't have made it through. Like what has he been doing for 12 years? Is there stuff to eat in there? Is he just like cranking it into like a crystal toilet? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like there's some ground that they didn't really cover there. But I mean, it's like you said, it's beautiful, right? Like, it really is an epic movie. Like, they talk about how they went for this Rockwellian, Kansas cornfield with the sunsets and stuff. And, but I mean, also, like, it was a weird choice to cast like a dude who looks like he's the exact same age as Christopher Reeve to play young Clark, and then just put a fake nose on him and dub his voice. Like, it's that kind of.
The dubbing cracks me up so much, man.
It's that kind of like weird old movie stuff that doesn't age well, and I think that you can watch a movie from that time period and it ages very well. And so, I don't think that that's like something that's like you can say, oh, well, no movie ages well from that time, right? I think they made specific choices that didn't carry over very well. But again, that's the 0.5 shaved off, right? I mean, the moments like You've Got Me, Who's Got You, when he first like changes into Superman and flies up, and it's just like, I mean, we've all talked about our
interaction that he has with that dude. He's like, "Hey, Jim."
Hey,
like,
Jim.
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit.
That's a bad outfit. Yeah, son. Yeah.
Yeah, today it would have been like, yo, you got that drip. And he would have been, but yeah, like, I think that it's full of so many moments that kind of give you chills. Like, and, we've all talked about, we're a product of that time period. I mean, I'm probably a few years after you guys. I was born in 85, but all those movies were on VHS. And my dad was renting them for me at the video store, and I was watching them on a loop. And so, to a little kid, when you're 4 or 5 years old and you see him take off into the sky, like, you do believe a man can fly, because you don't know what movie magic is, So yeah, I think for the sheer like kind of majesty and magical like spectacle of it all, those movies really still hold up, I think. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Very fair. What do you think what do you think about Luther is what I was wanting to know. Like what do you think about Gene Hackman as Luther in that?
So I was reading the John Byrne comics as a little kid around the same time I was watching those movies, right? Like that was my first comic was John Byrne's Man of Steel #2, and it came with an audio cassette. And so like you could listen to the sound effects and the actors reading the lines and stuff. And that was pretty much how I learned how to read was, kind of going back and forth between the two. So at that point, Luther was the like businessman mogul guy in the big ivory tower, right? But I was watching Superman 4 on a loop at the same time. I mean, when I was a little kid, all the movies kind of blurred together for me. So he was in a penthouse in Superman 4. So I kind of didn't really have that distinction until I got older and watched Superman 78 again and realized like, oh, he's hiding into like a disused subway lair like the Ninja Turtles in Secret of the Ooze. And like, it's kind of, it was a little, I didn't like it as much.
It's a very palatial sewer.
It is
very true, very true. Yeah, it's like marble and stuff. But the other reason for the 0.5 is I can't stand the Otis stuff. Like I know it's charming and it's comedic, but it's just it's so like to me. I can't.
It's unneeded. It's unneeded. It's just it's like it's something of that
needs
time.
A dullard.
Right. That's part of what ages it though, right?
Speaking of Otis, like real quick. Speaking of Otis, our Otis is here. It's Brooks. What's up?
Otis then Lenny, though, right?
Welcome in. You walked into the Otis bit, so Ibrahim's wrapping up his thoughts there. So yeah, the Otis stuff is kind of silly, bro.
Well, you have this tone of like the Rockwellian, middle America of Kansas and the bustling city of New York, and the paper's moving a mile, and phones are ringing, there's smoke in the air. Lane, give me that copy on whatever. And then it goes bum, 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 bum. It just like it's a speed bump for me. So
what I love though is it gives some funny character to Lex. Some of the best lines in that first movie are Lex talking about Otis to me. Like it's amazing that brain can generate enough energy to move those legs. I love those bits. I love them. So 4.5 so far from Jelani and Ibrahim. What about you, Brian? What do you rate it? And then tell us what you think about it. That's a good way to go, Ibrahim. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I wrote down 4.5 earlier because there are some things I just couldn't wrap my head around on there. But we're talking about being a product of the time and Otis and all that stuff. That like this is one of the few movies like that my dad liked. And I figured it out when I watched it this time is because he loves slapstick comedies and all that other stuff. And this delivered all that for him. Right. and I think that's why I think that's why that was in there. Because at that time, slapstick was huge, physical comedy and always having kind of a bubbling idiot around, and stuff. And those are always my dad's favorite characters in all those shows and things like that. So it was definitely different watching it this time around. And I had to just remind myself that, Lex is not like the Lex that used to in modern comics, and everything like that. But I guess, the one negative thing that I just kind of struggled with was not so much how he turned back time, but it was like this and then Superman 2, like Jor-El and then his mom tell him something and he does the opposite. And he doesn't really suffer negative consequences, right? Because Jor-El keeps saying like you can't mess with time, and then he does it, and then there's no real negative consequence. So like I was like,
there are two Supermen running around.
Is it just?
I have so many things. I
was about to say like to me, if Donner would have gotten to do his vision for 1 and 2, that all gets ironed out.
Yep.
Okay.
Like that's the thing is I have 2 ratings for 1 and 2. Depending on which reality I'm living in. The reality that Donner got to fully do 1 and 2 or the reality that we're living in right now. Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
But one thing I really liked about it though was like honestly the destruction scene of Krypton. That was a big 70s thing too, right? Big mass destruction things. Krypton. Sorry. Yeah, even his mom pronounces it that way.
The children of Krypton.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I love that movie, and I still do. I mean, like I said, I didn't see this one in theaters, but it would have been, like it was on TV a lot and everything like that. And so I know I saw Superman 2 and the others in the theaters and stuff. But yeah, it's just a classic superhero movie, and it's also you think about. Another thing I was thinking about is like this was 78, right? This is a good 10 years before comics started to be appreciated by adult audiences, right? I mean, they were largely targeted for 9-year-olds, up to a certain point, and so that you kind of, if you're going to go back and look, you kind of have to keep that in mind watching these, so that's, but like you were saying, Robbie, I was surprised by some of the adult humor that I clearly missed.
You're right.
When I was younger, I probably was like, "Why is he talking about her panties? What does that mean? That doesn't."
Do you like pink?
Pink. Like, bro, really? We're going there? That's Tom Mankiewicz, man. He's so whatever. Anyway, I don't think that was Mario that did that.
No, it's definitely Mankiewicz. He had a reputation as being
Yeah. Well, he did some of those James Bond movies that have that same kind of fucking vibe, bro. I just finished this whole James Bond revisit, all 25 movies, did a podcast. Very excited for that to get released to the public because I went stir crazy during the Roger Moore era, which I equate a lot of these movies with that. I'll point out that Brian was the first one of us to talk about this movie and not mention the year that he was born. So it lets you know that he's a little bit older than the rest of us.
He got
I didn't want you to pop that video out on me.
Really good points. Really good points. What was that, Brian?
I didn't want you to pop that video out on me.
Yeah, you just keep waiting. You don't know when it's coming tonight, bro.
I don't. But I did have one more thing though. Like when you're talking about when he was younger, that part where he was running along the train, I was like, that just made it look like he doesn't know how to run.
Yeah.
I mean, that's weird. All this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's wild?
That didn't make him look faster.
Like 40 some years later, the Flash is still running like a goof in the Snyder Justice League.
Yes. Those abomination of movies.
Wait, is he swimming? Is he swimming through time? Is that what's going on?
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And mucking it up like normal.
Speaking of swimming through time, Joe, why don't you tell us what you rate the first film and what do you think about it?
All right. I can't not give it a 5 because we very literally, not just having this discussion, obviously, but we might not be here if it wasn't a success. Like, period.
True.
There is no Superman 2, 3, 4. There's no Batman 89. None of that happens. If this bombed, it could have pushed back a decade, 2 decades before they gave it a serious shot again.
I give my dad a low rating though, and he's the reason I'm here.
That's fair. But you still get I mean, the fact that, again, not just Christopher Nolan, but everyone, I mean, Kevin Feige, all these guys, they go, we got to watch Superman. Let's watch it again. Let's analyze it. And let's use that blueprint. They're using the blueprint of that movie today, over 40 years later. There's that, to me, and this is just how I rate things, that transcends at that point the quality of like it's eclipsed itself to be this thing that's just beyond anything else that could have happened. There is, even if I might like another superhero movie more, the impact that movie is inconsequential to the first Superman movie, and we might not even have it. So it's hard for me not to give it a 5. But going into the movie a bit, one thing I definitely wanted to show is, this is Lex Luthor in his first appearance, that like friar with the orange hair in the castle that's being lifted by a Zeppelin. That's Lex Luthor. So, I mean, Lex Luthor's changed a lot over the years. There's been a lot of different interpretations. Yeah, of course. But I mean, there's a lot of things going on there. Part of I completely disagree about the Otis being unnecessary, all that, because the whole point is it's also a reflection on Lex's character. He is so insecure that he surrounds himself with idiots, and the only thing he can think to do of the one person he sees that might threaten him is, I gotta kill him. There is so much unspoken character building in that. And I cannot, you just can't undervalue that. I think it's really important to the character, to the movie, that he, and that's his weakness, because he gets defeated because he surrounds him. It's this like self-fulfilling prophecy. He surrounds himself by idiots because he can't let himself be bested, and that's what bests him.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. And again, like Robbie was saying before with the it's the Donner cut. If Donner got to do exactly what he wanted to do, the consequence of saving Lois was releasing the imprisoned Kryptonians.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That was great, because that Paris thing was garbage.
That's not Donner.
Yeah,
and they do that in the beginning of the Donner cut. They show you he throws the missile into space, and that's what breaks out the Kryptonians.
Yep. Right.
And then the consequence he gets, later in the Donner cut. And this is the only thing I'll mention about that, because we were focusing on the first Superman movie, is once he makes that mistake, his consequence is he killed his dad. Because the whole bit is I can restore your power, but I have to do it by being dead forever. I no longer exist. The Fortress of Solitude's done. But
no more connection to your heritage, right? No more Krypton.
Yeah, no more Krypton. I do think it's a shame that Christopher Reeve Superman didn't have one of Superman's more underrated powers in the 70s, super heart massage, to bring people back from heart attacks. That's an actual thing. But no, it's just all of that stuff, everything about it. The fact that he's gone for 12 years is, Donner spoke about this, like where the original was more of like, goes deeper into like Jewish mythology. This is more Christian mythology. The whole point of him being gone for 12 years is to reflect Jesus being gone for, I think it was like 18 years. But it's all of that fits in and works. And
a lot of people put it as a missing 12 years for some reason, because he's mentioned at one point at a certain age in the temple or whatever. But it's because they mention even the Moses stuff there, but it's the Judeo-Christian aspect of it, right? Where Jesus is a reinterpretation of the Moses bit.
Yeah, and he comes back and performs miracles and all that stuff. So it's very like, but again, they do it in a way where there's a lot of deep stuff and gears moving in the background. But you have to like deep dive into what you're watching a bit. But it's so expertly crafted that a child can just watch that movie and let all of that go over their head and not get, like when I watched it as a kid, I didn't understand like, oh, Lex Luthor is surrounded by idiots and that's his undoing and all of that. And they never tell you that and all of that stuff going on. So it's so childlike in its innocence, but it's also quiet and stands on its own. And it's so rare to find a film that can hit that just right. And even beyond that, like the moment when he saves Lois falling, like again, every single time, just the build up, everything, having him, get the cat out of the tree. I mean, they're able to just everything about that. Another little Easter egg. Another quick Easter egg is for all you Doctor Who fans out there, one of the Kryptonians, when the planet's getting destroyed, in the background, he doesn't really have any lines. He might have like a quick line or something, is played by William Russell, who was Ian, one of the first companion of the first Doctor.
No.
I did not know that.
Very interesting.
I didn't recognize him. Oh,
so our first 5 you dig of the night here on the panel for the first Superman. So Brooks, you're just joining us. What do you think about the first Superman film? Well, first of all, what do you rate it and why?
I give the first one a 4. I mean, it is. I still like it. It's still a fun watch. It has its problems. It's not like I wouldn't say it would be a movie I would watch on the regular. But I mean, it still holds up surprisingly well over the years. It has that charm, and I think a lot of it has to do with Christopher Reeve's performance, not necessarily as Superman, but as Clark Kent. I love his oh gosh attitude that he puts on when he's doing Clark Kent. And it's just so funny, and how he's he's such this bungling guy who trips over his own self, but then as Superman he's just he's all smooth. But and I also that they show he has all this power. He can save people from plane crashes or train wrecks and all this other things. But he also takes the time to help this kid get her pet from out of this tree. I think that's the most important aspect of Superman is that there is no small problem to him.
Yeah.
Anybody who needs help, and as long as he has the power to help them, he will, regardless of, how big or small the problem may be. And I think Christopher Reeves, does that really well. He captures both sides of Superman, both the kind of modest, bumbling, earnest guy of Clark Kent and the super confident, but, still really kind Superman aspect too. And Margot Kidder's performance too, her Lois Lane, I think is probably one of the best things about throughout all the movies, except for 2 or 3, where she was mostly absent. But
yeah, they had their issues with
she's
her.
She's a good foil for Clark Kent, because she's the complete opposite of him.
Yeah, really, really good points there. I'm just going to go ahead and say I agree with a lot of what Joe said, but I'm still going to go 4.5 because the poem that fucking Lois has when they're flying together is the dumbest fucking shit. Okay.
Can you read my mind?
Yeah, we're going to move on real quick. But first, Comics King says 4 you digs for the first one. Chill Out Mill says part 1, 5 out of 5 easy. One Collection Down says best origin telling of Superman. Christopher Reeves fleshed out Superman and with natural given talent and had us all sold on the adopted persona of Clark Kent as an alter ego. 100%. Let me run down here real quick. Fable says 5 you digs. It's probably a 4.5, but the nostalgia factor brings it up for me. And there you go. Looks like that's what we got. All right. Superman 2 followed 1980, maybe 1981. It depends on who you're talking to there. So it's going to be impossible to talk about this movie without talking about the Donner cut, which we luckily have gotten. I adored the Donner cut, like Joe touched on, like I've mentioned already. If Donner would have got to do his full vision of 1 and 2, I think they both, to me, would be 5 you dig movies, right? I freaking love it. Saving Lois, frees the Kryptonians, and there's just this whole other attitude. There's this whole bit. There's this connective tissue between the movies that still is kind of there, even in the Richard Lester cut. But, Richard Lester did Superman 3. So let's just be honest with ourselves about whose influence is better in this film. Most of the stuff with Zod and all of those guys, I think, was done by Donner. All of the Lex Luthor bits were done by Donner. There's Marlon Brando in the Donner cut, which is amazing. That being said, I really like Superman 2. This is still, to me, one of the only Superman movies where we've gotten a threat where I felt scared that Superman couldn't overcome it. I remember being a kid and thinking that Superman, he's about to get got. There's 3 other Supermen. You know what I'm saying? There's 3 other. There's Zod on. And you're right, Joe. Nobody ever cared about Zod until these movies. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Zod, when he does appear in the comics, is Superman always kills him, right? He kills Zod in this one. Everybody freaked out when Snyder did it, but he kills those dudes unless there's some kind of prison or Phantom Zone portal.
And they just kind of fall into
Underneath
a
there.
bottomless
It's
abyss.
fog, son. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the talk about crazy powers. Did he ever do this in the Silver Age? Super Saran wrap from the chest? Like, what is that? Like, that's some
inconvenient.
wild bit.
There we go,
It's Richard Lester is what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Batman
I
was
like
Clark, try this new gadget out for me.
separating myself from the Donner Cut, which of course we didn't see until much later on. I always loved this movie. I love Terrence Stamp as Zod. I love Ursa. I love Non. I freaking loved them in this movie. It's like great threats. The dipshit sheriff from fucking Live and Let Die, and the man with the golden gun. He just so happens in the next Bond movie to be in Thailand. It's driving me crazy even thinking about it right now. But he winds back up in this damn movie. Is he just the redneck sheriff in all of these movies from the 70s? I guess. Oh my goodness. But I still like the film. I want to know, what do you rate it, Jelani, and why? Superman 2.
Well, at one time, I'd have given this movie a 5.2. This for a time was like my favorite Superman movie, like in general. I love this movie at one time. I watched the Donner Cut. I love the Donner Cut. I'm going to mention it. But for the score this time, watching it this time, I'm going to give it a 4. And it's still a great movie. I still like it. It's just there's certain just aspects of it that I didn't, I had the googly eyes for certain things, and those rose-colored glasses for how beautiful this movie was. And then I watched it again this time after the 2020, 2021, 2022 we've had, and I'm more of a realist now. And I'm like, oh God, some of this stuff's really dumb.
I love how you're blaming the pandemic on your diminished thoughts on Superman 2.
Exactly. Okay. That's how I blame it. I have to use my rationale going forward. It's just how certain things happen, how certain situations happen, how the hell, Lois, did you get to the elevator in the Eiffel Tower and climb? I mean, it's stuff she does, but like, she's been alive this long. How's she been alive this long before Superman? Just stupid crap she's doing. I'm like, what the crap are you doing? I hate that whole scene. I hate all of Paris. I love Terrence Stamp. Zod is my favorite character out of all these movies. Like, if I liked a movie, it would be Zod, because he would just.
Look how dreamy he looks too, man. Look at that. He's so dreamy. Oh my goodness.
He is. Those eyes, man.
I love the moment where he realizes he's on camera and he's like, I'm on camera?
I'm on camera. Yeah. I just like how he tells everybody to kneel. He's telling his whole goal in life is to make everybody kneel before him. It's just like, you're not kneeling. You should probably be kneeling. But also, Jor-El, kneel before Zod. And it's just, he does it so casually. And he's like, oh yeah, and he wants to like kill Lex Luthor at every chance. It's why don't you when you know I will kill you? And it's like you talk to me this way, and you know I will kill you. It's he's so casual. It's like he's a dictator, but the problem is he doesn't know how to lead, and that's his.
He just wants a challenge, man. That's all he wants.
Yeah, no one will fight me, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. He's on a planet of people that can't fight him back.
Yeah.
There are certain things that I still love it. It's told okay. I absolutely cringe when Superman gets his ass, or Clark Kent gets his ass kicked in that diner. I absolutely cringe at it. I don't know why. Maybe it's the average white guy song that's playing sometimes.
I love that scene, man. I'm sorry, sir. I said, would you care to take this outside?
Take this outside. Yeah. And it's so messed up. I'm like, he gave up his powers, which makes me mad too. How the hell did they leave the Fortress of Solitude after he like lost his powers? Like, we had a car, we got a rental car. Yeah.
And she's worried about how he's gonna get back. I'm like, how'd y'all get to the fucking
How did y'all
diner?
get there? How'd you get to that diner? I don't understand.
I've never seen the Superman robots or anything.
Yeah.
It was a crystal jet ski they had, but or a snow sled, but it melted away. Anyway, 4.0, you're saying. right?
So much, it's a lot to take in, and Lex should have died in this movie, like Donner cut. But
yeah, each movie deserves a truly full unpacking, but we're just trying to get right
four.
through it. But like,
You're
yeah,
right,
like
4.
Yeah, 4. I dig everything that you're saying there. It's the
It would have been a 5, but
it should have been a 5, but to me it was I'll agree with you. I'll say it's a 4. I'll go ahead and throw mine out there because I agree with a lot of what you said. I really like the 3 other Kryptonians. I really love Lex. Australia. Like, I really love some bits in this movie. The Donner cut, though, like, has really it's taken the ruby quartz glasses off and now the Cyclops shit's just flying all over the place. Ibrahim, what do you think about Superman 2? What do you rate it? What do you think?
This one is a 3.5 for me, I think. Yeah, I know, unpopular opinion, and obviously the Donner cut way better. That's a whole different conversation if that's the one we're talking about for me. There's a lot to love in this movie, right? Like you said, actual threats. I remember as a little kid even just being like, what's he gonna do? I love Terrence Stamp's performance. Why do you say such things when you know I will kill you for it? Like, it's just so like Jelaine said, just like so nonchalant and casual and
even when he discovers his powers, he doesn't seem to care. He's like, yeah, of course we have powers now.
Yeah,
we're in space and we can't breathe. I mean, we're talking.
I love that, like the unfettered confidence in whatever he's doing. This one has some really cool stuff, like when Superman freezes the lake, and then that was this one, right?
No, that's 3.
That's 3.
That's in part 4, isn't it?
No, that's 3. That's
4
because it's
3.
The chemical.
It's the chemical.
He finds out
plant.
about
That's right. See, they all kind of. That's what I said. They all.
They do blend together. Yeah. 3 and 4 definitely merged for me.
The way that he gives up his powers, like, always bummed me out as a kid.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of parts where I remember being very boring, like the whole Niagara Falls thing with the little kid falling, and then like Clark falling in the river and tripping over the bear rug and his hand in the fire. Like, I just remember being a little kid and you're like, get to what are we doing here?
Wait, why is it the fire thing that makes Lois finally realize that he's fucking Superman? I love it in the Donner cut. And the Donner cut is that she shoots him, right? They do that bit, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the gun wasn't loaded or had blanks in it or whatever.
It was blanks, yeah.
Which I don't think he would have fallen for, because he would be able to see the bullet coming out and he would have felt something hit him, even if it doesn't hurt him, right? Anyway, because I mean, if he can catch a bullet in the first movie, then obviously he registers when a bullet is flying at him, and he'd be trying to minimize ricochet damage because she's standing right in front of him. I digress. Point is, there's just a lot of stuff that's like, harder to swallow in that movie. My favorite moment in the whole movie, though, is when Superman comes back and he's on the flagpole and he's like, "Would you care to step outside?" And he's posed up like that. That shit was incredible, and that still gives me chills watching it. But and then the ending just kind of feels like after all that fighting in the city and flying around and throwing vehicles and shit at each other, they just fall into a steamy hole. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess that
a steamy gaping hole, everybody.
So I mean, A for effort for sure, but as far as like the ones that I want to watch over and over, that it's lower on the list for me.
And for anybody that doesn't know, Richard Donner was initially, they were doing 1 and 2 at the same time, and then he had a disagreement with the producers or whatever, and he left. They brought in Richard Lester to come in and kind of refilm some things and do different things. They used a lot of his footage, but just enough that Lester would get sole credit for the directing of the film, and it's a whole kerfluffle, But 3.5, I think that's actually a pretty fair rating for this. I still have a little tinge of just Zod, and I love it. It's so silly.
Zod.
Like
Zod gives it the 4.
They show up. They show up to the East Houston, Idaho, or whatever the hell they're at. And they're like, "Who is this?
They're
what
not.
is this Houston?" Like, it's played up for comedy, which literally no surprise when we start talking about Superman 3.
I think that comedy aspect of this movie works better than the Otis stuff for me. Like, because they're these aliens from another world, and they're just like, They don't
Fish out of
understand
water, right?
why we do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One
But so
thing I wanted to
regal
point
about
out though, I don't know how many people know this, but Marlon Brando, there's a famous story where he wanted to play Jor-El as a bagel. You hear about
Yep.
this? You guys know about this? You hear about this? Jay Leno. Marlon Brando was notoriously like, he liked money and he didn't want to work. And so his whole thing was like, what if Jor-El was a bagel? And so that like the idea was that, and I guess his manager told Richard Donner, like, look, he's gonna want to be a green suitcase, and he's gonna say, why don't you just film a green suitcase and I'll do the voiceover, because you don't know what these aliens look like. They could have been
like
green
Superman.
suitcases. Yeah. And
They
so
look like Superman.
and so he when he spoke to Richard Donner about it, like he tried the bagel angle, and Donner just kind of had to tell him like, well, you know, there's all these kids out there who know what Jor-El looks like, and to them he looks like Marlon Brando. And so that kind of like goaded his ego enough to go like, okay, you
That's
know,
how
I
you
talk
get
too
him.
much, I guess. Yeah.
At the inside, Dick Donner was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, probably through that whole time he's with
What a-
Brando.
Just imagine a crystalline bagel with, you know, raisins.
Speaking of a crystalline bagel, Brian, what do you give Superman 2 and why?
Yeah, I give this one a 4. And it is leaning on the nostalgia part, because I did like this growing up a lot. And everybody's brought up the villains, definitely the best part. You know, Zod and Ursa and Non. And I mean, I even like, you know, I liked Zod and Luthor's interactions and stuff like that. I thought that was actually pretty good. But I don't think I've seen the Donner cut.
Oh, you got
based
to,
on
man.
some
You
of the
gotta
scenes
watch
you
it.
guys are talking about, because yeah, I've only ever seen the fire part where
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
it took Lois, I guess, 40 clues to figure it out. You know, but yeah, and yeah, Ibrahim, I was laughing when you said that about how boring that part was. I remember that as a kid, just like, come on, you're killing me here. I don't care about any of this. But yeah, I get, and one thing I was confused on, and was because, like, you know, his mom said that he'll never be able to come back after he gets rid of his, you know, if he gets rid of his powers, then he'll
But
never
he
be able to
does.
come back. And then he just finds sees the green crystal, comes back, and he's got the powers, and he's able to keep using the machine again.
In
over
the
and over.
Donner
So,
cut,
like,
it's way different. Like in the Donner cut, he literally, that is like, and it's Marlon Brando, and he's like, if you do
Okay.
this,
You're
this
cut
all
off.
ends and it's
Yeah.
over. Like you have to like you like it's a consequence of his actions. Like that's the sacrifice, right? So
yeah. So yeah,
you should
I
watch
guess I
the
need to
Donner
check
cut,
out-
bro.
Yeah,
I need to check that one
It's
out.
awesome, dude. It's
Mhm.
awesome.
I'll let you
Do you have
borrow
that?
this. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
let you. It has everything in there. So
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll check that out. But yeah, I mean, usually when I think about that movie, I just think about Zod's lines, right? You know, Kneel before Zod and all that. You know, it's just on the rewatch though. Yeah, it was just kind of like, you know, I haven't seen any of these movies, you know, since the early '90s, probably. So it was all. I wouldn't say it was completely fresh, but you know, it was. You know, I was definitely looking at it from a different lens. So, but there was still that nostalgia hit me all over again with watching them. So,
hell yeah. I do like that Ursa is obsessed with like collecting these badges from these dudes that she comes across.
A lot
I
of
just
pieces
think
of
that's
flair for Ursa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like she works at TGI Fridays or something, or whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna need
It's
some
like,
more.
ooh, what's
Yeah.
that?
What
It's
are
a
these
prequel to-
mozzarella sticks you speak of?
Right, Joe. Superman 2. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I almost always just watch the Donner cut, and I would give that a 5 with the first Superman. The Richard Lester cut, I'd give a 4. You know, it's a lot of the Richard Lester stuff just sucks. It doesn't gel with the rest of the movie. It's awkward. It's weird, especially when you know all the stuff going in and you watch it again. It's like it's jarring. But some of the things in the movie that I think work are, and it's like done seamlessly, and this is all Richard Donner, is when Luthor like betrays Otis and just leaves him there. It's because Luthor is about to become the Otis to the Kryptonians, because he's basically serving the same,
purpose,
just bumbling fool compared to the Kryptonians. And I really like that aspect of it. It's just really well crafted film. Other things like originally when I saw it as a kid, it annoyed me the whole bit when he goes back to like fight the trucker again at the end. Because I was like, that doesn't seem like a Superman thing. And then I read more Superman comics and I was like, that is 100% what like 70s Superman would do. Like 100%.
He's kind of
so
yeah.
So I like that. That works very well. I love the ending in the sense of how they beat the Kryptonians, because it's just like it's a quick little switcheroo, beat them, done, because we already got the big fight. What are we gonna do? Have another big fight? That would be stupid. Like it was nice. And you know what? In an age where every miserable, awful superhero movie degenerates into 45 minutes of CGI punches in the face, I will take this over any of that crap every single time. I'm sick to death of it. It's just a miserable nightmare. I would love more of these movies to just be like, oh, it's a quick little switcheroo. That's one of the best things about the first Doctor Strange movie for me, was like, it's like he kind of like does this little trick to beat Dormammu and we're good. Yeah. Like that part is great.
I love the bit there too with Luthor, where Luthor's like, "What are you talking about? I was with you the whole time. I knew exactly what you were doing."
No,
he switches sides like crazy.
Yeah, he plays it great and it's very it's a leveled up Otis, and it works perfectly. But yeah, just the whole bit, the threat, the big fight in the city. I think it was Patton Oswalt in one of his comedy bits did a whole thing about like how the fight now in the streets of Metropolis with the Kryptonians and Superman has like the special effects budget look of like a local attorney's commercial. But it's but yeah, all that works for me. I really like, again, how they build on like Lois and Clark's sort of interactions with each other. Terrence Stamp, it's great. It escalates perfectly with the first film, where like the threat of the whole US is at stake, and now it's the threat of the whole world is possibly going to fall under the Kryptonians.
And they continue to escalate that in the next one, where it's coffee beans.
Yes. But like, it's nice when they do it, and how it's like, oh, he's giving up his powers. It's like, he has no idea these Kryptonians, like, he thinks there aren't any other problems that people can't sort of solve, that he's earned something like that. That makes sense. It's like, there's no way anyone knew that stuff was going to happen. So I don't hope on that as much.
I'd have kept them powers and had like 3 crazy Kryptonian babies with Lois.
You say that now, but it's like, would you keep those powers if you could never have sex ever?
Well, let me tell you something. He has sex in Superman 3. So I don't understand the continuity here. I don't understand.
No, but that
was a different person. Continuity. I'm sorry. He's not here anymore.
Yeah, if that Donner wouldn't have done that. That was the whole thing. But yeah.
All right, so a 4.0. That's very fair. That's what a lot of us have given it, except for Ibrahim, who was very critical of it, but that's okay. We're not going to hold that against him. Brooks, what about you, man? Superman 2, what do you think?
I give Superman 2 a 4.5. I think it's my favorite out of the Superman of the Reeves quadrilogy, I guess. A lot of it has to do with the villains, the Zod gang, because they remind me a lot of the Saiyans from the first arc of Dragon Ball Z. Like, I see Zod as Vegeta.
He is, man.
Beardo
just talking
dude
shit,
as Nappa,
man. Just
and Ursa as Raditz.
Yeah.
I love to imagine, like, they come to Houston, and then, like, dude blows up Houston, and Zod's like, too bad it's Sunday. Those buildings would have been full tomorrow. But yeah, like, I think, like, the Zod Gang is like the most real threat that faces Superman. It's kind of like, you know, him having to like to pay for the sins of, you know, his father, the sins of the father, kind of, you know, like he had nothing to do with these three psychos being imprisoned, but you know, he's responsible for freeing them, and so, you know, he has to deal with that, and he has to, you know, like you said, I like that he has to outsmart them, because, you know, they are his equals in pretty much every way, except, I mean, maybe they might not have as much knowledge of their powers as Superman would, because, you know, he's had them longer, but, you know, there are three of them. So like him just like slugging it out with them and beating all three of them, that would have been like I don't know if I could have bought that. So I thought, and I also liked how he uses Luthor. Basically, he outsmarts Luthor because he knows like this dude's going to betray me. So I'll reverse psychology him. He pulls like a Bugs Bunny on him.
Yeah.
And of course, like Luthor is so predictable to Superman because he's like he knows. Like, it seems like, you know, they probably had more interactions in between the first movie and this movie. Like maybe Luthor had busted out of jail a few times and he'd had a few more capers with him. But yeah, I mean, Superman 2 is probably my favorite out of all of them, just for the Zod Gang.
I get you.
I feel you, dog. Yeah. It's just those other parts.
Yeah, 100%. Looks like a lot of people in the chat agree with Brooks, because Chill Out Man says, Superman 2, this is when I fell in love with Hackman. 4.5, nothing is better than the classics. Fable said 4.5. 2 is my favorite as a kid, but I feel 1 is the superior film.
Yeah.
I can feel that, but in another world, Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones. David Lynch did Return of the Jedi. And Richard Donner got to do Superman 1 and 2 the way he wanted to do. And he got to do 5 Superman films, and Lethal Weapon may have been delayed by a couple years because of it, but he did 6 of those films in that reality. That's the one I want to get
That'd
into.
been awesome.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're getting into the nitty gritty. Superman 3 and 4, The Quest for Peace. I'm very excited.
The good Superman movies, finally.
We'll get to it here on PCP Movie Night. All right. Superman 3, 1983, I believe.
Mhm.
Yes, 1983. This is basically Superman the comedy. When I revisited this one this time, it immediately struck me at how the whole opening bit is an extended like Pink Panther situation. Like it's just like it's straight up comedy. They were like, what should we do in this movie? Brainiac? Maybe. Should we bring Luthor back? No. Let's have a new villain. Let's have a guy. I don't even remember his name. I just call him not Luthor because it's Luthor, but not Luthor.
Dollar store Luthor.
Yeah, it's coffee beans, computers, and I love these movies that like in the early days of computers where like Richard Pryor just here's the thing. Richard Pryor's character could just be like really good at computers. It just it's the way it gets discovered is weird to me. Here's the thing. They were like, yo, we got a big get. We got Richard Pryor. Well, we need to make this a Richard Pryor movie. What does he do? Comedies. He's the biggest thing. Like let's do a Gene Wilder Richard Pryor movie, but with Superman, right? Didn't really quite work. I remember being a kid and being terrified by the end of this movie when what's her name gets like when she becomes Brainiac. It's Brainiac. Let's just say that, right? But they didn't really give it to us, right? Overall, though, on the revisit, I kind of enjoyed the movie. I didn't hate watching it. I thought it was kind of funny. It's so weird. Like when Superman goes rogue and just the things he says, like when he goes and sees what's her name, Lorelei or whatever on the Statue of Liberty. And that's the other thing I really hate in some of these films is it's Metropolis, right? They make no attempt to try to not make it look like New York, like at all. At least in Batman Forever, the Statue of Liberty looked a little bit different. But in this one, even in part 4, they're in the subway and it literally says New York City subway system or some shit. And you're just like, what the hell? Anyway, we're talking about part 3.
Yeah.
It's a weird stretch of a movie, but I do kind of like it. I'm going to give it 3.5 you digs because I have fun watching this movie. Richard Pryor, they got Richard Pryor. They wanted to make a comedy, but they didn't. And you couldn't take a Superman movie and move it into his vein of comedy. You get what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't let Richard Pryor really shine in a movie like Superman 3. But I still like it. One thing I'll notice is that all of these Superman plots are very much James Bond movie plots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Lex's plot in 1, and then this dude's plot, like they're going to get this guy and he's going to build a computer that's going to be able to dominate the coffee bean industry and then the oil industry and then everything. It's very James Bond. And that's what I get in these kind of movies. But overall, I kind of like it. I like, is this the one where they throw back to Smallville? Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is the one where he goes back to Smallville. Yeah. I like the Lana Lang stuff. I like the drunk. It's not Pete, but it's, I can't remember the dude's name right now. Lloyd Drunky or Adam
McDrunkerton.
Yeah, Drunky McDrunkerton. Anyway, I find a lot in this movie on the revisit to enjoy because I was not expecting much because I remember this being one of my least favorite Superman films, but it's kind of funny and it always still creeps me out at the end of that film when she becomes that like robotic being and it just there's something about the way the machine's like swallowing her up. It was like a prophetic vision for our childhoods of where technology was going to lead us into the future if it is swallowing us up, right? So I really like it. I think it's the best Richard Lester film solely by him for Superman, which is, anyway, 3.5 you digs for me. I find a lot to like about it, including you were talking about how Miss Tessmacher can get it. Lorelei can get it from me, she man. I don't know. And I love the juxtaposition that she's, at first you think she's the Otis of this movie, but she's incredibly smart. And I love the bit where she's trying to hide it. Like she's reading the fucking book and she hides it under the pillow when everybody walks in. I just love that. I don't know. There's something about that that's really fun to me. So 3.5 for me. What about you, Jillian? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a 3.5 for me as well. I mean, like I said, they get lower, but I like Richard Pryor in this movie. I like his juxtaposition with Superman for some reason. How they like they make him they lead with him being this down and out guy is just really hard on his luck, and he gets a job as a computer programmer and finds out that he's really incredibly smart at controlling computers. Just weird as crap. This should have been a Brainiac movie. And he finds Brainiac, and Brainiac makes him smarter or something like that. That would have been a great setup for Brainiac. But I like his character in this film. I don't know what it is about Richard Pryor, but I've always liked Richard Pryor. He's like in my top 5 comics of all time. So it's just, I love his performance. Then you get not Webster, or not Luthor, who's Webster. And does he die in this movie? Is he dead? Did the buildings blew up? And I
think they all die.
No, the sister comes out. She crawls out of the thing, and Lorelai stuck to the wall, but she falls. But I think she's okay. She's like, oh, but I
maybe
never
they
see
die.
Webster
Who
again.
cares, right?
That's
not the important part.
I
just remember that it's not Luthor, played by not Martin Sheen. Like, that's all I remember about this.
That's the guy. That's the guy that took over the A-Team in the 3rd season.
I know, but he's like, don't you get the sense that this was Martin Sheen?
Robert Vaughn.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Robert Vaughn. It's a fake Martin Sheen playing a fake Lex Luthor, man.
He's the villain from Basketball.
He is. Yeah, he is the villain from Basketball. Yes,
that makes it all okay.
Yeah,
too.
But But the monster scares the crap out of me. That scared the shit out of me as a child. Do you hear me? Like, every time that scene would come on, because I watched this one on TV, and every time I'm like, oh, what's happened to that lady? She got, and it was like, oh, it's bad. And she's walking out. She looks like the Frankenstein's monster. She's got all this shit on her face.
It was those white eyes too, man. Those white eyes got me.
That silver skin on top of the transistors and all the crap that's stuck on her. Oh my God, that freaked me out as a child.
You watch it today, it looks like a 5th grade cosplay of Cyborg or some shit,
Well, back then, it was just too much. I mean, and I love the opening. I love the opening of this movie. Like, all the series of haphazard events that happen, before, and Superman saves that guy from the fire hydrant. I love all
the whole shit. Like, what the fuck is that? Is that a Monty Python the Superman bit?
It's just so weird. It's so weird. And I'm like, why would you not do?
Who was the dude in the room that said Superman 3 needs to be straight up comedy? That's what people liked about the first 2 movies were the jokes. Yeah. There's somebody in the room that said that, right? Yeah. There was what people liked was the jokes, and then they oh yeah, you're right. And I don't know why the people that make this movie to me are like The Sopranos for some reason. But
hey, watch them. Well, there are things that. There's probably some.
So a 3.5 from you, man.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah,
I can say more about 3, but because last thing about 3. Yeah, I always mix up Evil Superman with this and Superman 4 for some reason. I like I said, the 2 movies blur together for me. Yeah. So Evil Superman, when he comes out with the kryptonite, the tar kryptonite, it's just the weirdest thing ever. You made tar one of the ingredients of kryptonite. That's just unknown because
it's a take on thing like the red, gold, blue kryptonite, all that kind of shit. Like, I wish it would have been a different color. That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Signify that, but I like that effect. I thought it was cool when I was a kid. Like, that scene even fucked me up too. Was like when he gets. When Clark Kent, the good persona, weird. Gets
fighting Clark Kent.
When they're fighting, but he gets crushed by that machine before he
freaked me out too.
That freaked me out, man. Just like Lois getting swallowed by the earth in part 1 freaked me out.
Yeah, and Superman having sex, without having problems.
He gets it, and I love the bit too. Lorelai's like, "Hey," and he's like, "Sorry, ma'am, that was a different guy. He's not here." Like, Superman, you get away with that? Like, no consequences, bruh? Nah. Come on, man.
But I'm pregnant.
What? Like, here's the thing. In another world, the Superman Returns we got, it was Lorelai's kid.
That's Lorelai's
kid. Anyway, Ibrahim, what do you think about Superman 3, bro?
Man, this movie sucks, dude. Look, as a child, things I loved about it. I thought the Thresher scene was cool. I even as a little kid, I thought young Annette O'Toole was a babe.
She has her moments.
I love in the beginning the photo booth thing when he takes and gives the kid just the last one.
Yeah.
That's a great little moment. I like that he does a spin and goes down into the street, like, because that's not really a power we saw in any of the other movies.
Yeah.
So it certainly has some moments, and Richard Pryor is like, he's so fun to watch regardless of whatever he's in.
He
right?
is.
Like when he's on screen, you're just entertained. So
just
that
his reaction when he gets that $80,000 check is like that reaction cracks me up, man.
And to borrow Joe's logic from earlier about how we're here because of that movie, Office Space exists because of Superman 3, so I got to give it some credit there.
Okay. Okay.
It's the same plot.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, this one has the most amount of boring moments to me. Like, especially as a kid, there was a lot of like, can we get to it? I was never a fan of, even as a child, like the two Superman thing fighting. Like, I didn't like that. Because it was just like, I couldn't wrap my head around, wait, why are there two of them? Now I know, symbolically, he's fighting his inner demons and blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't work for me. So that's, I don't have a lot to say about this one just because it's not really. Don't worry though. I know I've been kind of like, when we get to 4, you guys are gonna be like, what is going on here?
I know, we're ready for it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Grand finale. Now I get what you're saying. I love the color of the evil Superman costume. Like, that's kind of what the used as Superman Returns, right?
It's like Man of Steel Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the when he's like drinking and like, I'm like, is he getting drunk? I don't think Superman gets drunk. Like, I don't understand what's going on.
And that exactly encapsulates it for me. Is like, this movie is full of stuff going, does he do that? I don't know if he does that, right? Like,
there's a piece of it's so ridiculous though. It's so ridiculous though. I love it. Like, Richard Pryor cracks. It's such a weird. I wake up and I try to like think of something that I'm grateful for every day, right? When I wake up and when I go to bed, I try to think of something. Got to foster gratitude, right? And when on those days where I'm like, there is nothing to be thankful for, this was the shittiest day ever, all I got is, I live in a world where Superman 3 happened. Like, what a weird fucking experience that the whole movie is, man. I'm just fascinated that we got Superman 3. They would never do anything like that today, would they? Like, what if they were just like, you know what we really need for the third Captain America movie is for Dave Chappelle to show up and just
Kevin Hart.
And Kevin Hart, and The Rock, and let's just fucking lean into it, right? Let's Jumanji this shit up.
The other thing about this movie that like, if I just had to encapsulate it in like a sentence, it's like, oh yeah, the one about the coffee beans. If you shouldn't be able to say that about a Superman movie. Period.
This dude was so fucking pissed. Dude, it's a James Bond plot. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. I feel like that's even goofy for a Roger Moore James Bond movie.
I'll tell you what though. It's saying something about class. It's saying something about capitalism. It's saying something about the 1%. Like, it's trying to make those statements because even the grand computer hacker thief himself, Richard Pryor's like, bro, you got so much. Like, why do we? So it's posing some questions, right? And that's
he pay him?
That's an interesting. He built the computer, but then he took it over, right? But like, it's an interesting concept about like the corporation and the 1% versus like the workers who. These first 3 Superman films are going old school with the whole like Superman versus like as a social justice warrior, for lack of a better term.
One thing about that though is I feel like all of these movies, when they do that, they knock on that door, but they don't walk through it. Like you get like a little bit of it, but they don't actually like make that enough of a core theme of the movie for it to like resonate on a level that you don't have to kind of mine for it a little bit. Like, to when you're trying to find reasons to give it like a 3.5 instead of a 3 or whatever, like,
yeah, gotcha. Mm-hmm. And if they try to do it today, people would be like, "What's this woke Superman shit?"
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Brian, what do you think about Superman 3, bro?
Well, I was going to say that didn't exactly meet with 80s ethics either, though. I mean, that was when they let the bull loose. I mean, greed is good, right? That was the big speech from the
Wall Street.
For a lack of
Wall Street.
word.
Yeah, Gordon Gekko, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Gordon Gekko. Yeah.
Great
One thing I forgot to mention about Superman 2 is that I saw Cliff Clavin in there.
Yeah. He's in
Yes.
Yeah.
He's in part 3
He's
as
in
well.
3 as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
Richard Lester loves that guy for some reason.
I was just
Yeah,
like, wait,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
We gotta get Cliff Clavin for all of these.
But yeah, I give this one a 3.5. On the rewatch, I liked it less. When I was younger, I liked it because Richard Pryor, like we were saying, it's huge back then. And when I mentioned earlier, my dad liked the first one. He liked this one too, and that all made sense because it's got that huge slapstick intro, which I think Pink Panther is the best way to describe that. When you mentioned that, Robbie.
Yeah.
And which my dad was also a huge fan of. And those are pretty funny movies. But yeah, I guess I didn't like this one as much because while I do like Richard Pryor and I liked his scenes and things, but I just didn't feel as much of a Superman movie to me. Like there was so much that they were shoehorning in that it didn't seem to be as much of a Superman movie. But I did like when he went back to Smallville, gave little insight into that life, and stuff. I thought that was pretty good.
Unfortunately, there's no parents, right? Like that would have been nice to have a scene where he goes back to see his mom or something. That'd been cool.
His mom died.
But I did not like the villain. In this. Yeah.
Sorry, the way his mom died.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but like
no,
in
that was a good
between
point.
movies,
They
there's
mentioned
some
it
shit,
at the homecoming dance. He's like, "You haven't been here since your mom passed."
I know. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
that was it.
What?
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, I mean, you knew because he was like selling the house, right? Or was that in the
Yeah.
film?
Yeah, that's the
That's
fourth one.
That's what
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, it was kind of like they just glossed over that. But I really didn't like the villain in this. Like I didn't realize that it was intentional that it wasn't Lex Luthor. I just figured Gene Hackman wasn't available for 3, and they wrote it around.
This starts the period, Brian, where they're cheaping out. They're like, we don't want to pay any rights for Brainiac, so let's like do something else. But we get Richard Pryor. They're taking advantage of the fact that the Superman name is going to sell the movie. I think we're going to see this into the next movie in particular.
We'll watch anything with Superman in it.
But yeah, I remember as a kid, like I didn't like that villain because I thought it was dumb that he has all this money and he'd have this like super tiny ski slope on the top of his roof, which would be expensive, but like
what is up
boring.
with that? Like, I don't know,
How do you make snow appear on
Statement on the affluence of the elite, man.
Yeah. But
opulence.
It's like he can do it, so he does.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, but there's definitely laughs in it, with the with Richard Pryor, and then and I do remember as a kid, like when he was drunk, and melting the glass and doing all that stuff. I thought that was like those scenes were pretty powerful. But yeah, I had no idea that that was supposed to be Brainiac, and it made a lot of sense when I think it was Robbie told me about that a while back. But that would have been way cooler. Brainiac is my favorite Superman villain, so I would have loved to have seen a Brainiac story in there. I think that would have been really cool. So I think that also took away my score from this movie, knowing that was supposed to be Brainiac, and we didn't get Brainiac.
It's 1983. We're not expecting much. This dude could have literally fallen into that computer, come out like the metal, whatever, and they could have been like, I am Brainiac, and I'd have been happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would have been completely happy. So,
Yeah.
So a 3.5 from you. Ibrahim, did you give us a rating?
I don't know if I did. It's a
You
3.
just said this movie sucks.
Yeah. I give it a. You know what? No, I can't give this a 3 and 2 a 3.5. So I'm gonna have to go 2.75 on.
Okay. Well, we don't do 7.75s, but we do 0.69s. So you give me a 2.69.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, that's nice. Nice. All right, Joe, Superman 3. I'm ready.
All right. Probably a 2.5. This is like a pretty steep drop from, it's like we got Richard Donner.
That means Joe for this last 10-20 minutes has been like, what the fuck is Jelani, Robbie, and Brian talking about?
Well, no, it's just we go from Mario Puzo and Richard Donner and Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando to whatever the hell this is. It's it's tonally way off. It's like going back to Doctor Who fans. It's like you're watching like a classic Tom Baker story, like The Deadly Assassin, and then someone puts on like a Sylvester McCoy episode after that, and you're like, what the hell is this? Isn't even the same show. Like it's wild, man. You know. But for me, like, I appreciate people that enjoy the chemistry between like Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve and all that in this movie. It didn't work for me as a kid. It didn't work for me now. To me, they like brought out the worst in each other, and I enjoyed both less when they were like doing things. Like we get like lukewarm, watered down Richard Pryor for kids, who clearly doesn't want to be there, and he's even written it and said it himself. I did not want to be there. I just wanted the money. We get a
at least he didn't try to be a bagel.
Yeah.
True.
That's true.
This is the first of the movies where the budget is horrifically slashed. Like, they cut a huge portion of the budget, and it shows. A lot of the stuff too, like Gene Hackman, it's come out that part of why he didn't come back was because he didn't want to work with Richard Lester and was mad at the Salkinds. And the only person who's refuted that is the Salkinds. Like, oh no, that's not why I came back. So like, I don't believe those guys for a second. And then, so like, you have Gene Hackman not coming back because he's mad at them. You have Margot Kidder mad at them, who basically just came back as like a favor to Christopher Reeve to just do like the bookend scenes, so there's some continuity in the movie. But she was also pissed at Richard Lester, probably ultimately maybe part of why Richard Lester didn't come back for the fourth one, but that's also because the budget was somehow halved from this movie to Superman 4, but we'll get to that later. I probably enjoy less than half of this movie, so I'm probably being generous by giving it a 2.5. But it gets bonuses for being Superman. But there's cute things, like the little kid with the phone booth is the original little boy that came out of the capsule in the beginning of, or the
that's
in the beginning
cool.
of Superman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like
That's
that.
cool.
That's cool. I like that. I like what works for me, which I know is it that part that worked for me was the evil Superman stuff. I wish more of the movie was that, because that was like the closest we were going to get to like Bizarro Superman in these movies. But you know, like some of the logic there is like clunky, but like he can get drunk because he's poisoned and he doesn't have his powers are wonky now. So like there's things like that make it make sense. But you know, the stuff with Robert Vaughn, all like, and the whole Richard, it all just sucked. Like, I'm like, I don't know why this coffee guy is doing this. Like, I don't know why.
He wants to make money. He's trying to control. I mean, the coffee and like frozen concentrated orange juice. If you watch Trading Places, you understand.
It's because
it's playing the stock market. He wants to play the stock market to make.
It's
more
because
money.
it's not. It's
He
not
wants to
that
core the market on oil.
it's not good enough to win. Everybody else has to lose, right? That's
Right.
what he says.
That's what he wants.
Yeah, but it's
I like
not
that.
like in the first movie, it's really well developed what Gene Hackman's doing. This movie is just kind of, whatever. Oh, Richard Pryor, I don't know who the hell you are, but you figured out this thing that somehow no one else on Earth figured out? Sure.
You figured out how to tell computers what to do.
And it would have been really like, it's a movie that seemed like, wow, there's a version of this where someone cared at all and did like another pass or two on the script. And it could have been a solid movie, but it just felt like, this is good. And it felt like there wasn't care put into this movie.
Yes.
And it's difficult to be like, it's just dumb schlock. And like, it is for me, out of all of them, the single most boring of the Superman movies. Like,
I get what you're saying.
At least the Quest for Peace has the decency to be an hour and a half.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you this. Out of all four of these films, this is the one where the least amount of care was taken with the idea of Superman. because no matter what we'll get to in a moment with Quest for Peace, there's a lot of earnest intention in that film.
Oh,
but
I agree.
Speaking of earnest intention, Brooks, Superman 3, what you got?
Yeah, this movie's pretty dumb. but I mean, it's a decent. I think that like overall, the consistency of the Superman movies tone wise is pretty solid. Like they seem to, they kind of balance the goofiness and silliness with, the slightly more serious aspects of the character. But this one definitely leans a bit more into the ridiculous side. And, it's pretty dumb, but it does have some pretty entertaining stuff in it too. Like I did like that evil Superman, like the things he does to let you know he's evil is he straightens up the Leaning Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, he's having sex with women. Oh, dude, no.
My favorite character.
It's like the mildest evil stuff.
My favorite character, dude. That one fucking dude, and it was the Leaning Tower. Is that in Italy? Is that
The guy's selling
that dude. His life is fucking ruined.
Yeah.
This dude's life
I love
is
it. The end,
ruined.
he comes back and puts it back, and dude's like got all the straight.
He reinvested everything back into straight leaning, like non-leaning
that dude should have been the
towers.
villain in 4.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's a villain origin story right there. Right?
Yeah.
Superman.
Yes, if they do a sequel to the Superman 78 comic book, I think
Superman
we got an idea.
Too.
Oh man.
Yeah, I give this one a 3. I think it kind of balances out a little bit. I can see why people would really not like it. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Like Richard Pryor, it's like why is he like computer genius?
He takes one computer class and realizes.
Well, not even that. He just shows up at this job and he's like, "I'm a computer genius." I'm just a computer genius.
And he's so surprised by it. I love it. He's just like, oh man,
like,
I don't know.
The words and the computer does the thing I want it to do.
This is such a weird fucking movie, man. Cocaine in the
cocaine.
80s. I mean, that's all we can really think about, right? Like cocaine, and we don't understand it, man. But this movie is wild to me. I can't believe it exists.
That old dude had on top of his building. That wasn't snow.
Skiing on cocaine. That makes more sense now.
Yeah, that's what it was. That
makes it
He's
way
wiping out on purpose. Just dive into them.
Yeah, that's way more hardcore than Tony Montana, man. Let me tell you that. All right, man. All right, some fair ratings there. Fair ratings. All right. I think I saw a couple of ratings out there. Did I? Who knows? Superman 3, it's all downhill from here. All right, we'll see what happens because now we're talking about Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. This is what stands out to me in this movie. Christopher Reeve co-developed the story. He was really particular about wanting to have this message of like, we're at the tail end of the Cold War here. Cold War Part 1, I'm sorry, yeah. But
oh no,
we're at the tail end there, right? And like this was a big idea, nuclear proliferation and all that kind of stuff. Like I like the idea of using Superman to tackle this subject. I like it a lot. I love the idea of Gene Hackman coming back. I think this is the most like Lex that I like out of the comic book in a movie is from this movie. I fucking hate Lenny fucking Luthor.
Oh no.
Like, oh my god.
Lenny down the side with like L-I-N-N-Y.
But Joe was on the show.
Like L-E-N-N-Y in a later scene.
And Joe was on the show the other day and he mentioned that John Cryer was in this film. I was like, I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
And then I watched it. I was looking forward to it, bruh. And I was like, oh man.
Oh, no.
Howdy. Y'all were complaining about Otis? All right. Anyway.
That's not
at least
Lenny's
Lenny's like a kid. Like at least he's like 18. You know what I mean? Like,
Whoa. Okay.
The crazy thing about this movie to me, looking back at it, is that it's directed by Sidney J. Furie. who is the director of the start of March Madness this year. This is a weird coincidence, but the next time you see me doing a movie review, we'll be on Dylan's Horror Show. We talk about The Entity, the same director from Quest for Peace. I cannot put that together in my head. It's also the same director from Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 2 and Iron Eagle 3 and Ladybugs, right? Same director as Ladybugs. I'm not even kidding. The uncredited director of The Jazz Singer, to me, Neil Diamond classic. I cannot fathom this director in his career. How does the dude that did The Entity do Quest for Peace and the Iron Eagle franchise, which he also wrote? And I don't understand it. Anyway, Superman Quest for Peace. Ibrahim, I watched this movie. I was like, open mind. Let's enjoy it, right? Weird stretch, bro. First of all, I like Act 1 a lot. Weird stretch that he needs someone to talk to about his decision. So he tells Lois again that he's Superman and then kisses it away again.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, that's really like taking advantage of the situation. I really thought it was a good, tight setup and a good Act 1. They just kind of got away. The budget wasn't there. Gene Hackman is great. On the rewatch, it aged. This was the most enjoyable time I've had with it. I was focusing on what I really liked. Gene Hackman is amazing. Christopher Reeve is very earnest in his performance. But you know that when your biggest draw in this movie is Jackie Cooper, maybe you're kind of like stretching it, but it kind of works for me. The villain doesn't live up to, say, like Zod and his crew or even Richard Pryor. But I like it. I still think it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm going to give it 3 ya digs. And I would usually go really low on this film, but I think it's one of the best Lexes we get from Gene Hackman. And I think it's a really earnest attempt by Christopher Reeve to tell a meaningful story. It's a canon film, and they're notorious for like fleecing studios and shit. Like Masters of the Universe. They told Mattel, we'll go halvesies on this, but the first half is from y'all. So Mattel's like, sure. And they give them like whatever. And then when it comes time for them to give up more money, they're like, we ain't got no more money. We ain't got no money. Well, sorry, bruh. We ain't got nothing. So like, it's so wild that Canon Films did a Superman film. If you thought Superman 3 was wild, this one's wild for me. But I'm going to give it 3 ya digs because I find something to enjoy about it. And the most enjoyable thing to me has already been mentioned. It's not even an hour and a half. So it's not going to waste your time.
Like 84 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's super short. 1987. I mean, it's no Lost Boys. It's no Monster Squad. But in 1987, it would have been in my top 10 films of the year. I'll tell you that. What do you think, Jillian?
Superman 4.
You know how you got me feeling right now, Jelani, with that sigh? Betrayed. Betrayed. Betrayed.
I feel you, dog. As I stated at the very beginning, this is the law of diminishing returns. And this is the first movie I saw as a kid. Like, in the theater. Like, I watched it in the movie theater.
Happy birthday, Scarpad. Recently had a birthday. So
that was great. Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Weird comment.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
Weird stretch.
I mean, but I give this one a 2.5. I loved it as a kid. I still do because like I said, it was the first one I saw in the theater. It had Nuclear Man. It had like a guy that was comparable to fight Superman finally since the Zod gang.
It's their makeshift Bizarro, right? Because it's like Luther's making him out of his hair. It's Bizarro. Just do fucking Bizarro. What are you doing?
They didn't want to pay for it. There's a deleted scene where there was like a Bizarro, and he was stupid, and he fights Superman outside a nightclub. Man. Yeah, and then Nuclear Man comes after. So, but budget cuts, etc. It's better that it wasn't in the movie, to be frank. Sorry, go ahead, Julian.
No, you're good. You're good. And Ibrahim, I get it. I know. I mean, I understand because on the rewatch, I watched it again. I also had an open mind because I was like, it's Superman 4. You know, I mean, I like this movie as a kid, and they're not all terrible. It's not a terrible film. It's not. Well, it's terrible in the fact that they reuse footage and it's super cheap and it's just dumb on every level. And
and what's her name? Muriel Hemingway.
Muriel Hemingway.
She should have been Cat Grant.
She should have been Cat.
Like,
and they
Cat existed by then, right?
Out.
Yeah, no, she did.
Cat
come on.
Yeah. In the 80s, they should have used her as Cat and be the mogul that takes over. It should have been her to take it over. And she should have been arrogant. She should have done a lot more things. I like Jackie Cooper in this movie. I like how he buys the stocks and buys the paper back, and now he owes
it's a satisfying ending. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that takeover. You don't see Muriel Hemingway after she's saved from space, from freaking outer space,
and she's not
like, burned up.
She's got no breathing apparatus or nothing. She's just out in fucking outer space.
And we're just doing this now.
No.
The second
Lois wouldn't have made it through those flights.
Oh, you were trying to do the
in a chiffon,
I mean, it would have been like negative 20 degrees going 70 miles an hour with her eyes
she's
open.
literally in fucking space, bruh.
But technically, she doesn't come back to
Lottie doesn't hold up for that
she's
either.
dead. So I'm guessing she's dead. That's all I can get.
That's the one thing about these movies I cannot forgive is that what's her name lived in space.
Yep, she lived in space. I was so mad. I was watching this as an adult, and I'm like, "Fuck you, movie! I'm not that stupid." It's just.
I feel like if we make it 4 movies though, and we're letting fucking 2 Supermans and a cellophane fruit roll up S and all this stuff, like we got to give it the space. I'm
sorry, that one made me mad. That one made me Superman. What made me Superman? I was also mad in Superman 2 when they were talking in space. I'm like, you can't talk in space, and it was so much work. But going back to this one, that's what made me mad. Among other things, it's an okay movie. I Hate Nuclear Man is just so pathetic as a fighter. It's just he's terrible at this. And I like Lex. I can't stand Lenny. I don't know what it is about John Cryer in this film that just puts me out of it. It just takes me out of the whole thing. Like, I understand, like, Ned Beatty was rotting in jail somewhere else. So I get it. They put him in a new prison. Or Otis is dead. I get it. But it's just, oh, God, it's so much work. I'm sorry. This film is a lot of work. And it's so short for what it is. And it's just, yeah, okay, I'm doing it.
2.5. This film's a lot of work. I like it. Ibrahim.
All right.
This is the moment. And for you, I got this VHS copy of Quest for Peace. When I meet you one day, I'll wind up in Emerald City. So will you somewhere. And I'm going to have you sign this for me.
Bless
my
you,
man.
Sir. Bless you, sir. Okay.
I'm so excited. This is the moment I've been waiting for all day.
All right. Get ready.
What do you think of Quest for Peace?
I'm gonna get the negative out of the way first, right? Lenny's terrible. That car thing is stupid, whatever. Yes, she's in space. Wouldn't work, but again, as Brian said, neither would Lois flying in a sheer dress and above the fucking like
stratosphere
clouds, in the stratosphere and stuff. So there's a lot of suspension of disbelief. They make up powers in this. He like rebuilds the Great Wall of China with blue laser vision or something, right? But they've done that in all the movies, right? He kisses Lois's memory away in Superman 2.
Superman has whatever powers the writers want him to have.
That's Silver Age Superman for sure.
Yeah, Silver Age.
Exactly, right? It is
he moves the moon. Yeah.
Now, let me get to
the
real meat of this here for me. Okay. First of all, Robbie, as you mentioned, this is like the end of the Cold War, height of the arms race, right? The first scene in this movie, you have Russian cosmonauts, and one's in distress, gets hit by some debris or something, gets knocked off. Superman saves him, and then he shows up and speaks Russian to them, right? The very first scene of this movie, they're telling us Superman is for everybody. He's not American, right? Like, this is He's a global thing, right? So I mean that's huge right there. I think for who this character is, right? You mentioned Christopher Reeve had a lot to do with the story. I feel that this story is the most like apropos of who Superman is as a character and what he would have to tackle in if he were real in our world, right? Coffee bean plan, Lex Luthor with some bombs, like whatever, right? Like this is like on a global scale. Humanity's threatening to like end itself by just mutual destruction, and he's the only one who can do anything about it, right? And that struggle for him is like super real. Now
it's his quest.
It's his quest. There's a theme
Superman
throughout the
tells
movie.
Kid to drop dead.
Oh God, the kid. That was the other friend, Jonathan or whatever his name is. That kid.
What can't Superman take the
that'll do a lot of good.
I know how we can solve the problem.
You have Clark going to the farm, right? And he's selling it, but he tells the realtor guy, like, whoever buys this is gonna have to want a real farm. I don't want it to go to some development, a strip mall or whatever, right? So there's this element of Superman having to give up his home, right? Then throughout the movie, when he is like down and out because of his fight with Nuclear Man, and he's like sick and like turning into an old man, he has to use the last Kryptonian crystal to revive himself, right?
Oh,
so
wait,
he's
now there's another last chance that he gets
one
of these movies.
Yes,
but apparently
in doing so,
crystal in that spaceship. What?
In doing so, he's letting go of that home too, right? So now he's got two, the home in Smallville and his last link to Krypton, and he has to sacrifice both of those, right? Then you also have the aspect of the Daily Planet, like it's being bought out, very timely. It's bought out by this like National Enquirer type of rag, right? And now Perry White, like that home is under threat of being taken away, right? And so Perry White's trying to get that back. So I love that sort of like, 3 layers of that same kind of theme.
You can't go home.
I think it's, speaking of threes, like there's a really interesting love triangle in this movie, right? Muriel Hemingway, who's such a babe, by the way.
Yeah, she get it.
Yeah.
No, she's trying to sit like, how do I? She's on the desk.
She's like on the desk.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude,
that sent 5-year-old me in a tizzy. Even back then, it was just like, okay, something's. So, but what you have is somebody who, for 3 movies now, I mean, a little bit in 3, he's chasing Lois Lane, right? Like, but she likes Superman. Well, here's someone who actually likes Clark. And that makes for a really interesting dynamic. And then he's, it's a very Silver Age thing where he's, kind of trying to do the double date with both of them or whatever. And I love that scene where he goes through the limo to change and comes back, But that's the other thing about, I love the portrayal of Clark Kent in this movie because he's still kind of, he's bumping into desks and stuff, but he's less of a caricature, right? Like, and to me, that always felt disingenuous that Superman, who's like, I'll never tell a lie, he's lying all the time. He's being Clark and acting like an idiot, right? Like, and and purposely dumbing himself down. I felt like the portrayal of Clark in this movie was much more of like, he doesn't know how to be like regular all the time, so like he's fumbling with it. Like
he's normally awkward.
Yeah, he's just not perfect at it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that his Superman feels a lot more lived in too. Like he just has a more sort of natural like gravitas to him. I think that like there's a confidence there now. 4 movies in, he's getting to do his version of the character, right? Like, and you actually see him, when he's fighting Nuclear Man in the beginning, and Nuclear Man is fucking up Metropolis, and he's like, the people, like he's like worried, and you don't really get that in any of the other movies. And something about that is a little bit in 2.
You absolutely get that in 2.
Yeah, not in the way I'm talking about, where he's like, there's a desperation in his voice, like in that scene. Okay, I'm talking. I'll let your turn.
I love it.
So
keep going, fight.
And I think like it overall, like the fight scene on the moon is pretty incredible. Like when he gets like hammered into it, like, and you're like, holy shit, he buried him alive. Like That's pretty dope. So, yes, this movie has a lot of stuff that, there's also one thing I like is that he averts a lot of disaster, like with the volcano and stuff. But the real thing about this movie for me is when he addresses the UN. Like, I never get tired of that scene, and I get chills every time I watch it, because to me, Superman is addressing the United Nations, right? Like, that's something that we would see.
That's where
in
the
the real
2-5
world
comes from, by the way.
Right. I mean, that's a huge, and I think there's an interesting dynamic with his relationship with Lois in this movie too, because like, yes, he kisses away, her memory and stuff, but you get the sense that like she knows, she's kind of playing along, because when she comes to him with that cape and she's like, playing coy, like if you see him or, if you hear from him, give him this and tell him that we love him or whatever. Right. Like,
yeah.
So, they're kind of telling us like, she gets it. Like, she's playing along because she understands the importance of this dynamic and this, like he has to have his identity secret. She's a smart lady, I agree too. I think this is the best Lex we get. He's more maniacal in this one. And I really love his line deliveries when he's introducing Superman to Nuclear Man. And it's just kind of like, he's basically telling him like, checkmate, destroy Superman now. I love that shit. I love how, you have my voice. Like he didn't, he wasn't thinking that, his creation was going to talk back to him that way. So yeah, man, I mean, yes, the budget was absolutely cut at the knees.
Probably would have been better with more money.
I think if this movie got like if they spliced in some footage of Superman flying from 1 and 2 or something over the scenes that they reuse him in this one, like, a little bit of editing, I think would kick this movie up a notch. But, and I realize that there's a huge nostalgia factor for this one for me. Like that's, and that's why I give it 5.
Yeah.
This is your
Go for it, bro. I love it.
It's your world, man. We just live.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's I love the scene at the UN too, because there's a moment where he's like, I'm a visitor to your planet, but I am also part of this planet now. This is my home. Yeah, the Earth is my home too. That's a really great moment. It reminds me of the Paul Dini, Alex Ross book, Superman Peace on Earth, which that's one of my favorite Superman stories of all time. So yeah, I get it, man. Very interesting, Ibrahim, man. That's a really cool perspective. You've actually persuaded me to go from the low point of 3.0 to the higher point of 3.0. So
I like it.
On the nuance there. Brian.
Rounding up without moving at all.
Yeah, exactly. Taking that half cent, it just stays in the database somewhere, right?
2.5, baby. 2.5 stays.
You
convinced me to keep it.
Brian, Superman 4, Quest for Peace. What do you think, bro?
I go with a 4.
Now, I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
Got him!
Such a child.
No setup this time. I was not prepared. All right.
It never gets old.
No, it doesn't get old. No. But yeah, okay. So I'd go with a 4. 4.0.
Nice. Oh wow.
Because knowing what the budget problems, like, because to me this was the bigger story of them all. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it was the most ambitious story. Tackling the question of how involved does he get in human affairs, right? They touched on his planet was destroyed because they kind of like things we see today, right? And it's like, hey, all this bad shit's happening. It's like, well, no, it's not. People ignoring catastrophes and then it leads to the destruction. I liked the scope of it. Robbie, I think the way you put it, where it's like the Act 1, all the setup, I liked all that. I'm on board. I thought John Cryer was a bad Ned Beatty. That he just like.
Dude!
He should have just.
Whoa! Spin! Whoa!
Should have figured out ways to make like Ducky sequels or something. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really care for him. But yeah, I don't know that. I remember when I saw this, I was a teenager, and I think I thought it was boring. I seem to remember thinking it was boring at the time. Like it didn't have, what I was looking for. And at that time, I was not a big Superman fan. I mean, it was the '80s. Everything was dark, right? And Superman's so positive and upbeat and moral, and all this stuff. And everybody was all high on Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen. This is right around when this movie came out, like right after those comics came out. And you had all that, that tension, and the '80s were kind of dark, in general, from that aspect. So, I think I saw this movie once and was like, I just never watched it again. But another thing to it is that, like, all the ridiculous things in there, like you kind of have to accept those based on the other movies. All the other movies had ridiculous stuff too, I mean, like the saran wrap, and the stuff, but where you're talking about, like, it's just bonkers, that I actually liked it when he repaired the wall with the breath, because I was like, that's just so weird that's what they thought would be the solution for this. But I guess that was probably budget driven. I guess, I don't know. But yeah, I actually liked it overall. On the rewatch, like I said, the scope of it was, what I liked about it, and also I did like the tabloid part, because that kind of reminds me of the news today, right? I mean, because like that guy has a really good point. If you want to sell things, you appeal to the negative, right? You appeal to the sensational negative things. That's the way to move.
Fox News.
Yep. I mean, that's the way to keep eyes glued to what you're doing. It's a lot easier to elicit reactions for negative things than it is positive things, and that's what Superman brings, and that's why I've come to like Superman, with also Ibrahim's help, is that he inspires those higher level, like those higher things, and that's why I like him today, and that's what this movie reminded me of, is that he's inspiring those types of emotions and reactions to situations.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yep.
I can dig it. And to answer Scarpad's question, no, man, Supergirl deserves her own movie night. Okay, so I want everybody back for when we do that one. You just wait.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna do that in November. Listen, I'm just gonna write it down. We're doing that in November, so I hope y'all come back.
Absolutely come back for that.
I just remember, the only thing I remember about that movie is Popeye's chicken. Anyway, Joe, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
All right, I'll preface this by saying I always am happy to see someone enjoying something more. Like I would rather see someone enjoy something more than I enjoy it. And
that's how I felt about the new Matrix movie.
Yeah, that's hey, yeah, kind of with you, like
2049.
I
love it.
But yeah, no, it's the fight choreography in Resurrections was just great. It was wonderful. But yeah, so that said, I have to give this a 2.69 in digs, because I have to give it more than Superman 3, because I genuinely enjoy this movie more. Part of that is the shorter runtime. Part of between the shorter runtime, Gene Hackman and Margot Kidder like being back, and like people were mentioning the very beginning with the Russian ship, the UN. There's a couple of scenes for me that really like work. Most of the scene where he's talking about keeping the farm, all that, I really like. A lot of the stuff in it that drags it down beyond just like the budget is a lot of been there, done that. Like, he saved the world in Superman 2. Like, we saved the world already. That wasn't like he could save the world again, and maybe does it in a different way that's a little better in some aspects, but like it is all rehash. Just about everything's already been done. So I kind of wish that Christopher Reeve was able to work with a more competent scriptwriter to kind of go a little bit in a different direction. Like I think there's a way you could have worked with some of the budget to try to tell a story that felt fresher. Because unfortunately, for me, it's not a fresh story. It's like, oh, we're doing everything we did in the other movies. We're even doing like, what do we do? Let's have Superman needs to punch someone, so let's come up with someone. Oh, let's have them fight on the moon again. Not that Superman fought on the moon, but we've had that moon fight before. Except this time it's cheaper with like a black backdrop that you can see the whole time. Why are these
dudes fighting in slow-mo on the moon? Like they're like superpowered. They get like super speed. Like I don't understand why they're like I don't get it. Because even
on the moon ain't no gravity up there.
Even in Superman 2, the Kryptonians moved a little bit faster than the other dudes. Whatever.
Yeah.
When he writes the American flag, by the way, that's such a great moment. Like that stops, is a good moment. Picks it up.
Yeah. It's a little cheesy though, man. Right?
Yeah,
it's a little bit like,
flag is like an L shape.
Hey, that's Superman. You know.
I thought you were a member of the Earth. Not a
No, but there's definitely
you still got to rep your set. You know.
It's a bit. It's a little too, cheesy with some of that stuff. Like some other people mentioned, like the subway scene. There are a lot of scenes that just don't quite work. I did enjoy that the actor who plays Jack Porkins in episode 4 was one of the bad guys that Lex was working with, one of like the warmonger guys.
Oh my!
I was like, that's Jack Porkins.
That is Porkins.
You know,
forgot. I was like, he's familiar.
Yeah, I was like, oh damn. Yeah. So like that was fun. I did like Lex. One thing that drives me nuts is how he just like very easily like cuts and gets away with the hair. This hair that's so strong that it's holding up
like,
that
he cuts it.
weight.
Yeah.
He just cuts it like, hey, no problem. You cut it. Like to me, I was like, what the hell are we even doing?
Even this time, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even question why they could cut this fucking thing for some reason.
It does answer the question though of how does Superman get a haircut? So.
That he just can.
Somebody with bolt cutters.
Bolt cutters.
But yeah, it was just like, and they could have so easily just been like, like I got these kryptonite scissors. You didn't even have to add special effects. You just say like a kryptonite scissor. That's it. But now they're just like,
he uses heat vision to cut his hair.
Well, they were like, we've done kryptonite in 3 of these movies. We don't want to repeat ourselves.
It's his only weakness.
But yeah, it's not this. It's not nearly as unwatchable. Like it's not deserving of all the hate it gets. Like there are people that just sort of like dismiss it completely outright, that it's like some sort of like unwatchable train wreck, and I don't think that's true at all. It's fine. It's like a made-for-TV quality kind of film, even at the time it came out, and it's fine.
Yeah, all right. And the overall lesson of this entire franchise to me is don't take your audience for granted. Don't take your cast members for granted. Don't take anything for granted. Like invest in good quality writing and directing and have a vision. And these movies could, but these are the prototypical superhero movies, right? Yeah. Like what came before this, like the Adam West Batman movie and all that, like that shit don't really count. This is it. This is, so there you go. But yeah, absolutely. Brooks, I'm very curious to know what you think about Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Well, I remembered watching like part of this movie as a kid. Like all I remembered was the moon fight. And when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, dude, sick! Superman's fighting on the moon." And but I'm like rewatching it all the way through, and like I'd heard so much like how bad it was, but to me, it's all right. I'd give it a 3, same as Superman 3. It's it has a lot of stupid things in it, like when Nuclear Man like sees the picture of the newspaper lady, and like all of a sudden he's like, "I want that." And he just goes to the building, and then like Superman, who's just recovered, You know, we don't see how. It's just like Superman's bear now. He just shows up there. Like, how does he know Nuclear Man's going there? And then he flies her in space. She's in space. You can see the Earth down there. You're like, how is she not dead?
Because Superman knows if I were a brand new guy and I saw this woman, that's exactly where I would go.
But you know, it's like you kind of take it with a grain of salt at this point. Like if you've watched like the first 3 Superman movies and you're still like you're gonna let something like that like hinder your enjoyment of it, like you're not getting in the spirit of the thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this movie it's just still fun. It is dumb. It's really dumb. I'd say it's probably like a little dumber than Superman 3.
Okay.
But I think like the fact that Lex Luthor is the villain, like, kind of elevates it a little bit more, you know, despite how dumb a lot of it is. And I do kind of like Nuclear Man and his fucking radioactive nails.
What are those nails? That's some Lee press-ons, man.
Gotcha, Superman.
Lee press-on nails, man. Come on.
He should have won with that. I mean, he should have
like, oh my God, did he just scratch me?
Like, I was like, that's the first time I saw Superman bleed in these fucking movies. Really, man? He cut his fucking neck, bruh. Is he gonna be a fucking nuclear vampire now? What's going on?
No, he just has a cold.
His blood did glow.
He did. No, he like turned into an old man. Remember? Because
it was radiation poisoning.
I never picked up on that, and then I showed it to my nephew when he was little, and to David, right? And he was like, "Oh yeah, is that
like,
the
it
movie
just shows
where
Clark and like sitting on his couch all wrapped up like he has the flu." And then, like, later on, all of a sudden, he's, like, all decrepit and old. It's like,
right.
When did that happen?
It was jarring. Yeah.
It's like, what? What? That's a lot of this movie is like, what?
Oh, yeah. And she was irradiated. Well, Lois was irradiated when she went to go see him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
This is Lil Jon's favorite Superman movie.
He kissed it away. He kissed away the radiation.
He kissed that away, too. Yeah.
But
that was before.
And real quick, I just realized this thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Brooks, but how did Lex go from being this like landlord sort of tyrant to being like full on like wanting to be like the sole arms dealer of the world?
Money.
Like that just seemed to be like, where was the transition there? You just sort of like out of nowhere, it's just like, I want to sell all the nukes, and it's like, well, all right. Sure.
That's what he was doing while 3 was being made.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was hollering at his nephew Lenny, and they were formulating this plan.
He's like, look at this idiot, this coffee scheme. What a moron.
Yeah. He said, real estate's not working for me. I got to pivot to something else. I hear arms are good.
I love it. I heard a lot of people ask me, why not do Superman Returns tonight? Because I'm like, because this is going to be a 2.5-hour show. So Superman Returns, we can get to that. But I love how eventually Lex is like, you know what? I got to get back to just what I'm known for. Though Superman Returns discounts 3 and 4. So
yeah, it's supposed to be after 2. Which 2 we don't know, I guess, right? Like presumably the Donner cut, but
yeah, I guess it doesn't. I mean, yeah, who knows? That's a weird stretch. I like that movie though. I really do. I do like that movie. But so Brooks, you said what, 3?
Yeah.
All right, all right. So that's our Superman thoughts. That was a really fun show. It was a fun revisit.
Yeah,
I would love to. I'll do it again one day. I always revisit these films. It's something fun to do. So glad you were all here to join us tonight. So for your final thought, I want to know, outside of Superman, outside of Lex Luthor, outside of Lois Lane, who is your favorite character in the entire 4 movies? Jelani.
I said it already. It's Terry Stamp. Zod. Freaking Zod.
You got it.
Freaking Neil.
Thanks for being here, bro. Ibrahim. Everybody check out his upcoming projects, Retroactive, the Doctor Strange book, and more great stuff. Check out Ibrahim Mustafa. Great work. And who's your favorite character, bro? Out of
thank you, sir.
Everybody.
Jeremy, the kid who wrote the letter.
Okay, that's a very wholesome answer.
What can't Superman stop the nuclear weapons?
There's a deleted scene where Superman takes him for a flight, and it's like presumably like him and Lois, when they flew in the first movie. I wonder if it had that kid doing like a voiceover. Can you read my
Can you
mind?
hear me?
Did
Can
you read my letter?
mind,
That's a great answer, man.
Stop nuclear war.
Thanks for being here. Brian, what you got?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Zod. I mean, outside of those main characters, I don't know. In the comics, I like, the photographer guy, Jimmy
Olsen?
Jimmy Olsen.
In the comics, I like Jimmy
guy?
Olsen.
Best
But in the
pal,
movie,
Jimmy
I didn't
Olsen.
really care for him.
Johnny
I didn't think-
Photo.
He's in every movie.
Yeah.
He is,
Yeah.
but I didn't think. I don't know. I didn't think he brought all that much.
And
I
that
don't
crap
know.
Justice League.
But
Yeah.
He is
Wow.
Superman's best pal.
He had a very long-running comic book series,
yes,
which includes
He
the
sure
first
did.
appearance
I
of
keep
Dark
showing the Zod.
Dark Side.
Sure
because I
does.
love this McFarlane Zod. He is so
Nice. It's really great.
But yeah. I mean,
That doesn't look like Terrence Stamp. All right,
no.
Joe, thank you for being here. You got lots of
No
cool
problem.
stuff coming up soon. A lot you can't
do.
announce yet, but some great stuff. What's available right now? What's your final thoughts? And who's your favorite character outside of Lois, Luthor, and Superman?
Sure. Well, what's available now is you can get Beckstar in trade from Mad Cave Studios through their website or wherever you get your trades, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. Same thing with She Said Destroy from Vault Comics. And you can even read the first issue at Vault's website. The two Deadbeats anthologies I edited are still in print, available through Wave Blue World or Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. The TKO short I did with Liana and Paul Azqueta, you can buy. It's TKO Shorts #1, Scenes of Eden, or it's also available in their collected trade, their Tales of Terror trade that you can also pick up. And there's a bunch of other stuff that I still can't announce, and I would really love to, but soon. So yeah, and I would say this is a really sappy answer, but Ma Kent, she's not in it that much, but just every scene she's in, she just pours her heart into. Just like we can say, we've always wanted a kid, and we could just say, it's my cousin, passed away, we're going to take him in. Just the bit at the funeral, the bit before Clark leaves, and she gives him the hug, like that. All of that. She is so precious and wholesome, and I love every moment she's on the screen.
Nice. All right, Brooks. What about you, bro?
I think Ursa's my favorite character. Like out of the Zod gang, she was my favorite, just because like how she would just stare people down, and how she just like ripped people's like badges and stuff off and like took them. Like it was like respect, dude.
Hell yeah. She's badass in this.
She is
movie.
badass, yeah.
Oh yeah.
The fact that I remember her name like is a testament to that, because I don't remember the bearded guy's name.
Non.
Non?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he doesn't talk.
Because in the
He's evil.
comics,
He's
it's
evil.
Zod, Non, but it's not Ursa. It was another name. What was her name? I can't remember, but it was the woman had a different name.
John
Was
Byrne.
it Feora
She-
like in
she was-
Man of
Yeah,
Steel?
it
It was
Feora.
Feora from Man. She's in Man of Steel, but yeah,
Yeah.
but she was in the comics that Jeff Johns and Richard Donner co-wrote. What was that? Was it Last
Son of Krypton
Last
or
Son
whatever.
of-
Yeah. But I did talk to Sarah Douglas at that con and had brought it up, and she talked about how the way they did it, they intentionally changed the costumes so that way they wouldn't have to pay any of the actors for use and toys or anything like that. That's why they changed the costumes. In that
I figured.
comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. Here coming up at PCP, well, we're about to kick off March Madness. Same director as Superman Quest for Peace will be Saturday night on Dylan's Horror Show when we talk about The Entity. It's a rough movie, but it's definitely worth watching, I think. So you guys, we're kicking off March Madness over at Dylan's Horror Show with The Entity. And then next week here on PCP Movie Night, Manhunter. Very excited for this movie. It's my favorite Hannibal Lecter film. Michael Mann, to me, is the GOAT I love this film. I cannot wait to get into it. And for the rest of my final thoughts, I'll say Pop Pop Boom, Station, and my favorite character outside of Lex, Lois, and Superman would be